Oh. Arby's. Two of those things for just chicken. Arby's. We have the chicken. It's surreal. Surreal. Arby's is really starting to second guess this Pepsi. Beef. Pepsi. Two of those things for just $6. Oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, 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 yeah. Arby's. We have Pepsi.
Zach, do you want Arby's?
You know what? I might want Arby's after that. After that, hell yeah, brother.
Two of those things for just chicken.
Oh,
There's that's been popping off so fucking much on my timeline recently. Like, that's like a 3-year-old YouTube poop, but it's been getting like traction on like TikTok recently, and people have been like doing like try not to laugh poker face things to it. They've been doing like little like animations to it as well. It's a very cute one, like with these like little dog-like creatures, and when like all these like one of the dogs explodes and one of them comes off from comes in from off screen, and they're really scared.
So I don't use TikTok, so I'm just so this is what the TikTok side of things look like. It's like.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, the very first time I saw that, the first took me out. I was done, dude.
It's like the JR. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. It's literally like, hold on.
Like I said before, you know, I'm the one that can see John Cena.
It's the wrong one, but fuck it, we roll with it.
It's a really funny one.
Hi everyone. My name's GirafaStev. I'm the president of the Love Boy Club, the large enjoyer of gaming, wrestling, Arby's, and my stinky cats. Pyro, idea maker, Soul. Hi everyone. Pyro, you've not been here before? That's crazy. And I don't follow you. I'm changing that. There.
Hey, look, are you about to become an Arby's mark?
Listen, if Arby's gets like that Cheeto blasted fucking roast beef, I'm the first one there. Okay? I'm the first one over there. I'm in line, and I'll do like a food tasting. I'll do live food review. I'll be like that one guy in like the suit that like reviews all of like the new fast food items. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but do you know what I'm talking about? It's the guy that's like, my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. It's that guy.
Oh really?
Right?
It's the same guy.
Yeah, it's the same guy, and he's like tasting some new like McDonald's stuff, right? And he's like really like eloquent about it. Review, brah. Review the yes, exactly. Yeah, that was the guy that tasted the bad McDonald's. He was like, my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. And he's like just the most like quietly savage man of all time. He's so funny.
Yeah,
hello everyone. I am the creator of 3DStev. You sure are. I need to do something with 3DStev at some point, so that way I can show off your hard work. Because Pyro over here surprised me out of the blue a couple years ago, I think, with a 3D model of the Long Boy. Now, it's not necessarily a 3D model of me as I am right now, but it is a 3D model that represents the Long Boy, and it's very cute. It's very fun. He put in a lot of work into it, and I would like to try and use it at some point because I want to show off his work. So
yeah, you know that guy should do, Logan. He should review them while in a Cinnamon Toast Crunch suit.
I'm still waiting on you to review Cheetos cookies. I remember we found those like a year ago. I need to get some. Yeah, Pyro over here's the fucking goat. I was paid in Skibidi toilet plushies. That you were. I literally sent. I paid international shipping to send him a mystery Skibidi toilet plushie, and it was one of the people with the camera heads. It was actually kind of cute, but it was like I found them on clearance at Walmart, right? because, like, they put... So, at Walmart, if you can believe it, they do have Skibidi Toilet merch over there. And I swear...
I can't believe it now.
And I swear to God, the manager must have strategically put the stand for it way in the back in front of the garden area, where, like, it's, like, out of view, you know?
He's embarrassed.
It's like an embarrassing, like, pimple on the ass of Walmart, you know? And, like, you need to, like, pay attention to find it. But I found it, and I was keeping tabs on it for, like, a month. I swear to God, only, like, 3 of those plushies were sold. One of them was bought by me. So...
I was the one.
I'm the one. I'm the one that fucking supports Skibidi Toilet.
I was that guy.
I'm that fucking guy. But yeah, I bought it. It was like $30, I think. Right. So what am I looking for here? Am I looking at here, Steph? What's up with the empty chair? Oh, that's just there. That's in case I have collab partners. Well, like more than one collab partner, which I should introduce my current one. Most of you may already know him, but just in case. To my right here is the President Undead. This is Zachary Taylor. What's up, Zach?
Hello there.
Hi.
I'm doing very good. Nothing says streaming while in your pajamas. So I'm feeling very comfortable right now.
General Zach Nobi.
The negotiator.
Negotiations, Lego Star Wars style.
Yeah.
It's funny because me and my roommate recently 100%ed the complete saga, right?
Ooh.
Like, him and I recently just kind of sat down and 100% of the complete saga, because that's something he likes to do every few years. They never did it in multiplayer. I will say, Speeder Showdown in episode 6 is probably, like, torture in several countries. That shit is awful in multiplayer.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because... What?
I was there when the original Lego Stars came out. I played both before the complete saga.
I played both of them, but never the complete saga until I played it with Colin. So...
Okay, look, do you remember, like, the original Lego Stars, where after you beat it, got 100% whatever, you got to play a bonus levels from, like, episode 4, New Hope. It's like a small area. plays Vader and shit.
Yeah, I know, as Vader and a random stormtrooper. But yeah, these are very comfy chairs, Pyra. My new overlay artist created them for me. I have them linked down in the credits section of my Twitch channel. Her name is Naomi, as I call them. And they did a phenomenal job of this. Like, I really, really love, you know, the coloring of this. I enjoy the little anime effects. I love how the crowd is, you know, like, fucking animals and stuff like that. It's very, very fun. I love our little snake up in the upper right. I've named him Bartholomew. There he is. He's right up there. And he's also in the lower left of my sharing screen as well. Let's go there right now.
Yeah.
There he is. Oh wow. You're very covered up by me.
I'm touching your hair.
No, don't touch me. I'm gonna move you over a little bit so that way you have some room to breathe.
I was about to give your hair some serotonin.
Not Randall. Would that have been too obvious? It would have been too obvious, yes. But also, Bartholomew is just a funny name to me. So,
but I'm very much looking forward to that Lego Batman. It's like Arkham gameplay, but Lego Batman.
Well, chairs are gone. Well, there's one behind me, but yeah. That one there is for the chatting screen. We can go back to it. See, we have chairs now. Is it more homey to you, Pyra? My favorite. I mean, since we're chatting about it, I may as well. Do you know about the Arkham subreddit, Zach?
Yes, I do.
It's just how unhinged it is.
Yeah, because they've been starving for new Batman Arkham.
The various in-jokes on the Arkham subreddit have become, like, in-jokes with me and Colin, as well. Stuff like, why did X do X? Is he stupid? Or or stuff like, I just created this. What the fuck do I call it?
Like, I'm sure the subreddit was very happy when we got a new Arkham game in VR. It was like really good.
Well, they finally gained sentience, Zach. Well, some of them did. And they were like, and the thing is, a lot of them like took to calling the Batman characters different things. Like Batman just became man, and they took.
You know that?
Wait, you know that?
Yeah, I know that. They call man.
Man, Batman. Here. I'm gonna find it for you. Do you all want to see man real fast? I'll show you man. Okay.
I think there's an entire YouTube video about the Arkham subreddit.
Here, I'm gonna fucking get it, okay? I'm gonna go and grab it for you guys. Because it is something that you need to fucking see. It's literally the shittiest edit of all time. Here he is, that's man.
Oh my god, yeah,
that's man.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, I don't know what it's from. I don't know what this still is from. But like, when the new Lego Batman game came out, they fucking just showed the normal version of this, right? The one that actually looks like what it's supposed to look like. And it said, wait, no, that's Batman! I remember everything! Like, they finally, like, they fucking woke up from their coma after, like, years and years. It's so funny. It's just his persona to cover his identity. Batman is Batman, and Bruce Wayne is just his persona to cover his identity. I thought you were gonna say that, like, Batman is Bruce Wayne's persona for a second. Which, I don't know. Maybe. I'm a huge Arkham mark. I enjoy the Arkham games, too.
Logan, there's several videos about the Arkham subreddit.
That's fucking awesome. I'm very glad that it has notoriety like that.
Yeah.
But no, it's just like the weirdest stuff because all they've had for 10 years is in jokes. So
yeah. Here's a thumbnail for this one.
I got an ad again. I may as well play an ad before we get going, so that way Adam Copeland's story is not interrupted. So I'll just run it right now. Well, actually, hold on. I gotta get to the sharing screen first before I run it, don't I? So that way we have George with us.
It's break time. Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
If you need them. Earthbound is an easy RPG.
Oh no, I'm right here.
We're so back. The right ear.
The right ear is back, brother. Better than ever.
Nintendo doesn't want you to give up on the game and never see those funny scenes. Earthbound is the first RPG to be set in modern times. You save your
first ever game.
I don't feel like that's true.
Speaking of pizza, you can play the game with your left hand and eat pizza in the other. Since the game
this is me throughout All Out today.
You
pizza in the other.
To move. Prepare to visit several places. A clubhouse, arcade.
I'll tell you that Domino's isn't really sitting well right now. I think I need like a salad or something.
Museum, hospital, drugstore, Stonehenge, a police
Stonehenge,
library, a park, city hall.
He's just rattling down the list, brother.
Laboratory, tents, caves, inns, a desert, a beach resort, grocery store, a snake shop, and Saturn Valley. Watch out for Master Belch. You may have smelled him before.
Why did you say it like that?
The battles and the HP elements seem out of place, but the psychic experience points fit the Earth.
What do you mean they seem out of place, George? It's an RPG.
Consider buying
it. And I was so happy when I finally got it working.
Earthbound is the first RPG set in modern times. The graphics are
you already said that, George.
But not technically. The humor makes the game interesting.
I do hate how long I was sitting trying to get the models hoodie to display all of the logos. And I was so happy I finally got it.
Nom nom. Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Hey, welcome back to Raw. And just for some reason, we have Final Fantasy now.
Yeah, for some reason. But yeah, I was saying earlier, I'm very much looking forward to that Lego Batman game, by the way. It's just Arkham, but Lego, and that's fucking awesome.
Really is, yeah. It's literally just like Arkham, but it has like, you know, humor to it. So.
Oh, right. Logan, I wanted to tell you something about the SmackDown theme. Or the SmackDown theme that's in this game.
Okay.
So Chad's not aware.
Let's actually hear it here first.
Yeah.
79 days to WrestleMania. Oh wait, that's right, we're on SmackDown.
Yeah, the SmackDown. Boom, boom.
Oh, we're traveling? Wow. Oh my God!
Ah, it's him!
Nobly absent from All Out tonight. It's JR. Not absent was Taz.
Yeah, so like a future AEW collab partner.
I was about to say, oh my God, I love AEW. Not being the 25th anniversary of Mania, but the 24th Mania. That's very true.
A new boss? Who's it gonna be? We're starting down the road to WrestleMania, folks, and get ready for a wild ride.
So the song that's playing, that is "If You Rock Like Me" by Jim Johnson. That was from 2008.
That song, I don't know if any of you have ever heard it. Right, like, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this game. It's called Thrillville, right? It was like a LucasArts park simulator. Like their other one that wasn't a Roller Coaster Tycoon. This one was in like 3D and you could like roam around the park yourself, right? And it had a lot of music that sounded exactly like that.
Yeah.
It literally has a lot of music that sounds like If You Rock Like Me, and whenever I hear this theme, I just think of like running around my little like amusement park when I was like 7-8 years old. So.
By the way, Jared messaged me. He wanted me to tell you that he says hi.
Oh, well, tell Jared that I say hello as well. I mean,
hello.
I mean, he can say hi if he wants to. My DMs are open.
Yeah. As I say, well, people clearly have nostalgia for this song. You know why? You know how I know this?
Oh.
I found this while I was Googling this. Someone, look at this. Someone made this Rock by 2008 in 2022. Their own custom version of it.
Their own custom version? What does that mean? Dakota! With the Lawn Boys, girls, NBs, and AG. I don't even know who we're facing.
Hello, Mario.
Dakota, how are you?
Hi, Dakota.
You just came on into our playthrough of Edge's Road to WrestleMania and SmackDown vs. Raw 2010. Hot off the heels of his big win at AEW All Out this evening. Somehow looking 15 years younger.
We'll talk it. No, look, I linked it. It's called WWE Smackdown Intro. If You Rock Like Me, 2008 and 2022. And it's really the 2022 superstars. So it was like from 08 with that theme song. And I was like, someone clearly has nostalgia for this song.
That's crazy. I wouldn't think that anyone would. But
yeah.
Because, like, around this point, SmackDown was going through a shitload of things. Also, yeah, can we get a shout out for Dakota if we haven't done it yet? Oh, wait, I see it. Cool. Yeah, what were you doing, man? Hopefully you're doing well.
Yeah. What are you doing, Dakota? That's right, we watched All Out earlier.
We did watch All Out, and this guy was on it. This next guy wasn't on it. He was trying to compete against it. But...
the game! Triple H.
It's time to play the game! Time to play the game!
I'm gonna squash him.
I'm gonna take my shovel over here, brother. Also, Justin Roberts is on this.
Yep. Don't you control it, you can shoot. There he is.
Oh, shit. I skipped it.
You skipped over Justin Roberts.
I'm sorry.
Edge and Triple H. So many times.
By God.
By God.
I hope Triple H stopped. I hope that Radar Superstar stomps a mud hole in Triple H's ass.
But yes, we did in fact watch all that earlier. It was a 5-hour pay-per-view.
5-hour show, but like it didn't feel like it, did it?
No, it didn't. It didn't really drag into any places.
Oh, it didn't. It like went by really quickly, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, spear pin.
I do have the card here if you want me to like go over something.
Sure, we can talk about the matches individually.
Yeah, I got it from the top. So the first one was Copeland and Christian Cage against FTR, which I'm surprised opened. I thought that would have main evented.
I thought that would have main evented as well. But like maybe they didn't want a main event with, you know, Beth Phoenix getting stomped out by FTR. That probably would have sent the crowd home sad.
I mean, sad, but last pay-per-view made the crowd go home sad. It's main event.
Oh yeah, that's right. But, and that was in London. So yeah. Anyways, I do want to say this before we continue any further. First off, Pyro. Yes, I really appreciate that you went, you know, extra mile for my model. And I would like to, you know, try and get something working with it here on stream, because I don't want it just rotting on my hard drive. You put in a lot of work to that, and I want it to, you know, be shown off. I just need to remember which fucking softwares run it. What?
Okay.
I literally thought I was about to like put him into the turnbuckle.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, Taz. Wait, that's his line. Holy shit. Okay.
It's like, look, I forget about this. Like, oh yeah, you know, on Anno 10, the SmackDown commentary duo was JR and Taz.
It was, yeah.
I was like, huh.
What the?
By the cerebral assassin.
I fucking hate Triple H.
He's got.
I hate him. Ah.
He's gonna run hell for what he did here tonight.
Here goes the Irish whip.
Yeah, Copeland and Christian and FTR, that was fun. It would have been more fun if my connection wasn't fucking up the whole time. But
because during the match you had to be like, fuck this, I'm getting this on Prime.
Yeah, because I use my VPN to get a fucking you know, a sort of cheaper version of it on Triller TV. But I couldn't get a solid connection onto it. So like I had to like stop the show for a second and and buy the show again. I needed to buy it a second time. You know, the match was good. I'm surprised that they're having Cope and Christian win, you know, between, you know, both their rival teams, you know, right off the bat. But it seems like they kind of have a bit of a united front.
But very clear it's not over yet between like those two rivals.
Yeah, between like those teams. So I wonder if Beth Phoenix is going to get involved now that she's kind of been introduced into the company. What the fuck was that, Hunter?
Good in-ring presence shown by the game.
Well, Hunter, what are you trying to do?
See now this right here, why I didn't watch WrestlePalooza.
God.
This right here is why I didn't watch WrestlePalooza and why I didn't go to it. Not because it wasn't too expensive, it was, but because of that shitty little senton he did.
I mean, I look at maybe it's a good. I look at probably it's a good thing it didn't go because you would force to see Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar win against John Cena on his retirement tour in the big 2025. That might have taken me out. I'm not gonna lie.
Logan, I saw what they did there because I was going to like, you know, the timeline. I was like, oh, I see what they're doing here. That match opened the show and was going at the same time the main event of AEW. All Out. I was like, oh, I see what your fuckers are doing.
Is Lesnar really that big of a draw?
He's got victory in mind for sure.
Like in 2025?
Probably not, but Cena still is.
Cena still is. Yes, that is very true. All right. Pin off that. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, clean as a whistle.
Clean as a whistle against Triple H. Wow.
How not realistic.
How unrealistic, yes.
An audience with Mr. McMahon.
I'm reading it was a squash too. I don't know. I would need to watch the match. Also, stream was fun. I was playing ukulele and it's pretty fun so far. I played ukulele back when it released. It's fine.
Yeah, good.
It had a lot of weight on its shoulders, especially after my number 9, if I remember right. Because those were because my number 9, ukulele, and Bloodstain for Shoulder Knight were kind of in the same conversation for a while about like retro revivals. So like,
well, people loved Bloodstain.
when my number 9 released, that really put, you know, those two games more on notice. Hold on.
Mr. McMahon, you have a minute, sir?
Edge, I'm not surprised to see you.
In
Why don't
full
we
gear.
cut to the chase? Go ahead, ask.
Guilty. You got me. I do want something.
I know exactly what you want. You want to become the new general manager of SmackDown. Go ahead and say it.
Well, no, sir. My being here involves the GM position, but I came to recommend someone else for the job, not to ask for it myself.
I don't like that.
Man, you look very dapper today.
Very dapper?
The dapper yapper.
The dapper yapper, Vince McMahon.
I'm sure if you look hard enough at her resume, you'll find she's well qualified to be SmackDown's new GM.
I don't like that. Edge, don't leave, please.
I don't like this.
Edge.
I don't like this.
Adam, don't leave. Come back, man.
Please don't leave.
Come back, please.
Dude,
Come back before Vince catches another charge.
It's like, dude, knowing what we know now, like these type of cutscenes puts things in a whole different perspective.
Yeah, fuck.
From New Orleans.
Stand up strong. And make my theme park in Thrillville.
Tonight we get our first appearance by SmackDown's new general manager. Mr. McMahon's kept it a secret.
Look, I would have laughed though. We brought out like Beth Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, this was before they were an item, so at least I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's before they were an item.
I would like you all to welcome SmackDown's new general manager, Maria.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. I am ecstatic about
Maria
being the
Kanellis.
new GM for this brand.
Yep.
I just want to assure everyone that SmackDown is in good hands.
Funny, considering she's a manager now.
Is to leave the past behind and to inform every person on the roster that starting tonight, everyone has been given a clean slate and will be evaluated with a fresh set of eyes.
Everyone's getting new gimmicks.
This is a chance for those who have been overlooked to get the attention and recognition they claim to deserve. Of course,
Find the Hurricane.
everything in WWE, nothing's easy. It's put up or shut up. Thank
No
you.
more prima donnas.
Look, I kept have expected her to say, we're clean slate. We're gonna all the titles will be vacated like it's just in WCW.
I don't, you know, you thought that. I thought the fucking XWF when he was like, no more, it's like, no more prima donnas, dude.
My God.
Either that or the WXO. You reap what you sow, the buck stops right here.
Good luck tonight, Edge. I'll be rooting for you.
Always was a Maria fan back in the day. I'm not familiar with her all that much. All I know is that Simple Plan made her theme song. So,
I mean, it is a very catchy theme song.
Here she comes again. If you wanted a massive dude to destroy Cena, it should have been Obafemi or Gunter. You know? Why do we need 48-year-old Brock Lesnar beating Cena on his retirement tour? What are we doing?
Why does Brock Lesnar need the rub?
Why is... And this was after 6 months of a failed heel turn, you know?
Yeah.
I've got the GM in my pocket, but I still need to look good tonight. I should give a finisher to each of my opponents.
Each? Oh boy.
Oh no. How many do we have?
Probably a fatal 4-way match.
What?
Yeah, it's a fatal 4-way match.
Undertaker notably not in this match.
Yeah.
Biscuits and gravy!
Jesse.
Oh yeah, brother. Here's the star power.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, guys, I don't know if you guys know this, chat, I don't know if you know this, but remember, Festus, that's Luke Gallows.
That is, dude, he looks nothing like how Luke Gallows looks right now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Ugh, I'm so hungry, lol. Yeah, Jesse looks like he just got back from fucking Arby. Yeah, Pringles in a bowl.
Oh my god. Here's Jess Roberts.
Even this, he sounds pretty okay.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit, dude. Notably, was in TNA recently.
Look, I know this is where you started watching wrestling, but I was actually a pretty big Jesse and Festus fan when they were a tag team. So when I found out Luke Gallows was Festus, that like blew me away. It's like, wait, that's Festus?
His whole gimmick is that he's like comatose until the bell rings, and then he like perks up. Yeah.
Yeah. Goes on a rampage. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Kennedy! You gotta let him do his entrance, brother.
Kennedy. Oh right.
Travel till it gets real loud. What?
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that Kennedy had like another like theme.
He had the same theme, but it's like it was recorded. It was recorded by a different group.
Yeah. Yeah.
This shit sounds like Jet. It's really weird. Are you gonna be my girl, chat?
Like chat. Mr. Kennedy really is the case of one of the biggest what ifs in like the WWE.
In wrestling, yeah. Because the only world title he won was like the Jeff Hardy TNA title.
Yeah.
Now that I have everybody's attention.
I'm glad they kept this.
Just like to remind you that I weigh in tonight at 246 pounds.
They like said it with him.
I hail from Green Bay, Wisconsin, Mr. Kennedy.
Cool. Cool.
That's awesome, actually.
Oh, they don't have him run the ropes anymore. They cut that out.
I mean, essentially, this is already long enough as it is.
It is pretty long, yes.
Yeah.
I do not. Okay, that's enough out of you. All right, I need a finisher to each of these guys, right?
Oh, no, they're just all ganging.
Jesse hot off the heels of his fucking Arby's binge. Here we go.
There's a joke in there,
what was it? I think they eventually repackaged Jesse as like a Slam J or something?
I don't know. Like, what did they repackage him as? Like, what did he go on to be?
Hold on, I'll look it up.
Slam Master J? What
Slam Master J, yep.
What the fuck is that? Titus? What the fuck is that?
A white rapper.
I love John Cena.
Yeah, he's trying to do the Cena thing.
Dude, that literally is. Dude, that literally is just like we have John Cena at home. Wait. Am I gonna get like momentum if I do this?
And that's the value of that briefcase.
I'm very glad they kept this. I don't think they have it anymore. I don't think you can, you know, stroke your opponents anymore. Fireman's carry. Here. Oh.
The rated R superstar defeated the game last week, but stunned the WWE.
One thing
when he nominated.
One thing I don't really enjoy about this game is that they have like auto targeting on by default.
Yeah.
And I'm scared to like, I'm scared to set it to manual because I don't know how to like, I don't know how to do it myself, you know. Wait.
There's a pin now.
Past me could not get these line reads. Like, what was I doing that I was on like 6 takes of this? LMAO.
Wow, great reversal.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are not natural VAs.
Okay, Logan. So Slam Master J, right? Jesse appeared on June 26th episode of SmackDown in 09 during the first televised edition of Crime Time's Word Up Internet show. During this segment, Jesse reprised his thug wannabe mannerisms from his Ray Geezy gimmick.
From his what?
Ray Geezy, like Geezy. Ray Geezy gimmick. On a July 24 episode of SmackDown, Jesse was officially renamed Slam Master J. With yeah, Slam Master J. It's called Slam Master J.
You can tell that at that point Vince has not listened to any hip hop since like, you know, Run DMC's prime. So
after he was released from WWE in 2010, which is like, oh, this is kind of unfortunate. He retired from professional wrestling and began working in Atlanta, Georgia as a police officer.
Oh no. He's a pig now.
Yeah.
Damn.
Tremendous effort.
Dude, what the fuck are we doing here with Vladimir Kozlov? We're over here like chain wrestling on SmackDown.
Vladimir Kozlov chain wrestling in 2009.
In yeah, Pringles in a bowl for sure. Listen, Zach, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I don't necessarily care about whether or not I get like all the finishers in this one. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of play the game normally. Here.
But don't you want to see what you unlock?
Not really. I'm more interested in what we unlock in the next game.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, Logan. So
that's
while
what the content is,
so while Jesse was in developmental, he had a ring name called Ray Geezy, a white rapper gimmick based on Young Jeezy.
Young Jeezy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I fucking... Here, I'm gonna go ahead and just give the spear to Jesse. Wait, who are they chanting for? Are they chanting for...
Jesse, baby!
I was about to say, are they chanting for goddamn Jesse?
That'd be funny.
Uh-oh. His opponent's got him now.
Dude, that's really unfortunate, though.
Yeah.
This is so unfortunate, Jesse.
Yeah.
And he threw a hard right hand.
Would be pronounced Jeezy.
Unloading with that kick to the midsection.
Jeezy before that. Although G-Eazy isn't really relevant anymore either, so. So they share the honor. They fucking share the honor. I'm trying to like figure out how to do my signature here.
Okay, so fun fact about Jesse, he is the son His name is Ray Gordy. He is the son of professional wrestler Terry Gordy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit.
So he's a second-generation star. Then.
Yeah. I didn't know about this. He made an appearance at the 2016 Hall of Fame ceremony during his father's Terry's induction as part of the Fabulous Freebirds, accepting an award on his behalf. Ooh. That just do my job.
I'm trying my best to like fucking, you know, do something here. I don't want to pin Kennedy because I know that we feud with him later on here.
Spear.
Come on.
Here's the pin.
Count that shit. Mini spear for the win.
Let's go. But yeah, look, and a fun fact, in 2016, you know, Jesse, like, he made an appearance at the 2016 Hall of Fame during his father's, Terry's, induction as part of the Fabulous Freebirds, accepting the reward on his behalf.
No matter what the situation, he finds a way to survive.
So, that's interesting.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of cool. I mean, did they play Biscuits and Gravy when it came out?
Probably not.
Aw, come on, man. That's classic.
It's a classic song. Whenever I hear that, whenever I see Logan, whenever I see Biscuits, I just think of the theme song.
You think of Jesse and Festus?
Yeah, it's like a Biscuits and Gravy.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I think of it too, as well. Ow! Shout out to whoever watched that show. Rated A for awesome. That sounds familiar.
Going to heat things up in a hurry. Speaking of hot, we found out Maria was our new general manager.
Taz, calm down.
I wonder, what's she gonna do tonight? Good question, partner. I have no idea.
He's gonna get on there and say, "No more prima donnas. Only Edge matters."
It's like, Taz, come on, you're not this type of person.
Only Edge matters, which would be accurate.
So, did I do enough to earn your recognition and attention last night? I'm prepared to do a lot more for you.
Maria? Oh no. Don't move.
What? Why? What is it? Is it a bug or something?
It's not a
Such
bug.
an airhead.
It's this 6'5" mutant growth sprouting from your neck. That thing is nasty.
Nasty.
I'm glad you're here, Mr. Kennedy. I was about to make some matches for tonight. Edge, you can choose an opponent from last week's Fatal 4-Way match. Mr. Kennedy, you'll take on the one Edge doesn't pick.
Fine with me. I'm here to compete. And I'll take on anybody.
Anybody. I love the animations in this game.
The fucking mocap on point. Alright, well, I guess we could choose who we face this week.
Obviously, we gotta face Jesse.
Yeah, we gotta face Jesse, brother. We didn't pin him last week, so we gotta pin him this week.
Which of the Fatal 4-Way opponents from last week should I beat up again tonight?
I like Pringles in a bowl as well, but I feel like that Jesse gives us a little bit more to work with. So.
Plus the match will probably be over quicker since he has a lower rating.
He does have a lower rating than Vladimir Kozlov, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Jeez. There's a lot of yapping in this one.
Won against an opponent handpicked by Edge.
And he beat Vladimir Kozlov.
That's why he's still holding money in the bank. But
That's why he's still holding money in the bank. Well, this is a fucked up timeline, isn't it?
His opponent later tonight.
Because like wasn't Edge the one that just took the friggin' briefcase from him because he was injured?
Yeah. Kenny thought he had an injury, but it was like a fake out. So that really sucked.
Rather, it was like, seriously, gravy. There he is.
There's Jesse. It's a great.
This is a crazy ass song, dude.
We actually look at the lyrics and you're like, wait, what the fuck are these lyrics?
Another Jim Johnston special.
Wait,
was this Jim Johnston? It had to have been Jim Johnston.
Shit, when did Jim Johnston stop doing music for the WWE?
I think like in the early 2010s. That's when they did CFOs. After that, CFO dollars or CFO money.
Yeah.
After that, it is CFO money, right?
I'll forever not like them just because of their name. So how do you say it? Is this CFO dollar sign, CFO money?
CFO money, or just CFOs?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I know this for sure. I like them better than goddamn Def Rebel. So, all right, it's time for Edge and Jesse to put on a goddamn clinic in here.
Oh, right.
Speaking of wrestling, Zach, we were talking about AEW, right?
Yeah. I was bringing that up. It was all right. We're talking about that. I don't think I need to go over the tag team match again.
No, I mean that was good. I enjoyed that a lot.
18-minute match, if you're curious. 18 minutes, 5 seconds. Next one, unfortunately, this hurts my soul. Definitely the worst match of the night. Eddie Kingston, Big Bill.
I would say it's the worst by a pretty little margin.
It only went for 7 minutes.
It went for 7 minutes, which would have been fine if the finish was fine. But like, it just looked like Kingston missed, and then like it was really awkward after that, and then we got the 3 count. You know.
I saw that whiff. I'm just like, no, please don't tell me that's the finish. Oh my god, it is.
And they're like, what the fuck? That was the finish. Hey, biscuits and gravy sign in the crowd.
I hate to say this, but that was kind of on Big Bill.
I kind of hate to say that too, but yeah.
I like Big Bill as well. I think he's very talented, but man.
I don't know what the fuck was going on there, but like, yeah, like Eddie Kingston went for his back fist while like Bill was on the ground. But the shit.
He's fighting back with all he's got. What a war. And what
Jesse, can you do something, man? Please, I don't want to just control the match the whole time.
Like Logan, the only thing that kind of saved that was the post-match stuff.
yeah, the only thing that saved that was the post-match stuff with like
Hook, yeah,
and Brian Keith. But beyond that, it was just kind of like, well, not the greatest.
It was a matchup. It was a match, all right.
Like Nelson was like upset about that. It was really funny, but
yeah, I mean, it does upset me a little bit because man. This is after him being gone for 16 months.
I'm about to like back out of the story here and look up Edge's like signature because I don't know what the fuck it is. I thought it was like the DDT. I thought it was the sharpshooter. I don't know what it is.
Is it a running signature of some kind?
I don't know. I tried that too. Okay, there we go. Jesse's actually getting his shit in, and my shit is getting rocked as a result.
Don't worry, Logan. I got your back. I got your back.
I was about to say, can you like look it up or something?
Oh yeah, brother.
Thank you.
Jack.
Oh, damn. Okay, Jesse.
This is 2010.
Yeah, SmackDown vs. Raw 2010.
Unloading with that kick to the midsection.
One of the first results is Edge signature move, and the first is from Game FAQ. What is Edge's signature move? Game FAQ.
That's what is it indeed? I want to know.
Whip them into the ropes, and on their way back, get ready to hit your signature move.
Okay.
Both his signature moves are like that, but he's already got what's a normal move. Is it okay? I can like. Okay, that actually really didn't help me.
All right. I'm gonna try whipping him.
Okay.
Opponent
has to be.
And grab him on the rebound. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's it, dude.
Not even the spear. Not even the spear.
Hello,
just
Mario.
The edge-o-matic.
Hi, Patch. How are you?
The rated R Super.
Look, losing to the edge-o-matic is the same vein as losing to the side effects from Matt Hardy.
Edge is a stand-up guy for sure.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
It's almost time for a 90-second Cheetos break, my dudes.
Time. Which means it's almost time for our old friend George Wood to make another appearance. Yeah, hi Patch. Welcome to tonight's show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look at me.
Hold on. We gotta get to the next. We gotta get to the next scene here. I'm actually gonna go ahead and snooze this real fast, just in case it.
Welcome, folks, as Smackdown steamrolls into Albuquerque.
What's this?
This music wants you to play Thrill. This music makes me want to play Thrillville again, chat.
Whoa!
Whoa! Watch out, Vicky.
Celebrities can't have a moment for themselves. Makes me sick. What can I say?
Yeah, like Edge got over Vicky really quickly.
Yeah.
A scandal.
Yeah, I'm very happy. We're still playing as like heel Edge.
Yeah, I know. It's weird because you don't really see play as the heels all too much in these stories. So
no.
It's usually a babyface character you're playing as, but this is kind of a cool little change up. Anyways, Ad, we need to do that before we go any further. We need to be visited once again by George Wood or myself, depending on which one we get.
I'll be right for real quick.
Just got done with D&D. Hopefully you had fun.
This one's a devil to explain.
Oh my God, this
so
one.
we'll let the game itself do the talking.
This is one of my favorite ones ever.
Devil Dice is an action puzzle dice game. Use the directional buttons to move the characters around. Make the dice move by using the directional buttons while the characters are standing on top of the dice. By moving the dice horizontally or vertically, align dice with the same numbers.
I love how the little guy dances there.
When the same number as the number on the dice or more have been connected.
He does like a little emo
if the dice
in a minute, chat.
3, they vanish when the player connects 3 or more of them. The number on the face of the die, multiplied by the number of dice, is added to the player's score. These are the basic rules of the game. Let's try now for 5s. Move the dice around until 5 5s are aligned. The 5 dice vanish, and 5 times 5, or a total of 25 points, is added to the player's score. Once the dice have been aligned,
I
they
fucking
vanish
love
into
his
the
little
ground.
emote there.
Dice which have only partially disappeared can still be used to connect with other dice. The player can continue adding more dice to those.
Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Hey, welcome back to Raw.
Also added to the total score. This is the chain rule, one of the most important rules of the game.
The bottom line, Devil Dice is fun, but not worth $40.
And then that's it. That's the whole fucking review. He's just like, I'm gonna let the game talk. He lets the game talk, and then he says it's not worth $40. What the fuck? It makes no sense, dude. I don't get you, George. I never will.
So, the cat's out of the bag about you and Maria. You know, some people around here have been referring to what you're you're trying to pull is sleeping your way to the top, but not me. I look at it more like you're sleeping your way to the middle, because the top's already reserved for me.
Alright, you fucking dick. Let's see about that. I'll save first. And then I'm gonna send you to TNA. What are we gonna get for this one? Edge and Khali versus Jesse and what? Dude, we're getting so much Jesse here. This and gravy. Maria's everything. He's just Ken. Very true.
Introducing first.
All right, we've already seen you. What about you, Primo?
I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool.
And his partner.
Oh, they have like the same music in this one?
Weighing 218 pounds. Primo.
When I think of Primo, I think of his like 2011, or like his SVR 2011 entrance.
Nothing beats.
I got the PTSD from that, brothers. Primo pizza time. I already got pizza tonight, so it's all good. I'm pizza'd out, chat, if that can even be possible. Dude. How the fuck do we have the Great Khali in two different ones of these, in two different roles?
Weighing 420 pounds.
This right here is right before he, like, faces the Sexay for the IC Championship.
I'm back. Oh no, it's the Great Khali.
It's the Great Khali, and not just the Great Khali. It's right before he faces the Sexay for the IC title over on SmackDown. He's like a month away from that. But for tonight, he faces Jesse and Primo with Edge.
Oh, with this theme song as well.
Yeah, this is
okay.
This is a Punjabi Playboy Khali. I guess this is another mid-card feud.
Alright, so look, you know how we're playing a game from the 2000s, right?
Yeah, from 2009.
Alright, well, I thought this since it's appropriate. I never heard that.
I heard a soda, yes.
Yeah, I got the Mountain Dew. That was only appropriate.
What flavor is it?
The Mountain Dew flavor is it's regular, zero caffeine type thing.
They got like a version of it that's supposed to taste like trolley gummy worms. It just kind of tastes like sugar, you know? Which is really what trolley gummy worms are, but you know. It literally is just pure sugar. But no,
here we go.
I'm a Baja Blast boy. I am one of those people. Alright?
Yeah.
Like, Baja Blast is good, so it's fine.
Like I don't really drink soda anymore, but I do occasionally bring it out, you know, on occasion.
I don't. I try not to drink soda too much myself, you know, for obvious reasons. But like, it's not like I can't drink it. It's just I should really choose not to. So
yeah, it's a shocker. It's really bad for you.
Yes, I remember. Yes, it is. But no. We were talking about AEW. Would you like to go over the next match? Because the next match was actually insanity. I won't lie.
Yeah. Let's see, what was the next one? Oh yeah, Mark Briscoe versus MJF in a 19-minute tables and tacks match.
Tables and tacks match, brother. What the f- Primo! Primo's over here beating the shit out of Khali.
Yeah.
Dude, that was crazy. That was fun. But yes, that was a very fun. What the fuck? Wow.
Whoa. Who knew Khali was that athletic?
Yeah, I know, right? Apparently, the slow walk down to the ring is just playing mind games. Whoa!
Jeez.
Ah! Cool. I'm just gonna manhandle Jesse for the next while here. Bro, what the fuck?
Out of that one.
I like to look at that. That was actually a crazy match.
It wasn't a crazy match. It was very like extra. I almost kind of expected them to like set the thumbtack table on fire, right?
Yeah.
Just to be like incredibly like extra that. Edge, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah. Look, it was crazy. Though I guess like thinking about it more, I wish it was just like a tad few minutes shorter. If only because the shock value of the thumbtacks kind of like wore off after a bit for me.
Sure, yeah. And that's just kind of the nature of the match too. So, yeah.
Edge has been on a tremendous roll in recent weeks, and with a roll,
like I want it to be like, you know, a 15 to 16 minute match and not like almost 20. If that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah, baby.
Kali got the fucking win, brother.
Man, Jesse, you're such a jobber.
Ali was an absolute powerhouse here in Albuquerque.
There's little to debate. This team is comprised of dominant, capable superstars who will stop at nothing to attain victory.
I love this particular animation where like they fucking
get to the high thing.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the bestest of pals right here. Kali's invited to the barbecue. It's like now we're going to the Rumble. Yes, we're going to the Rumble.
Are we gonna be in the Royal Rumble?
I don't know. Are we gonna be in the Rumble?
Well, watch. It's just gonna be number 30. Because this thing. Well, Undertaker's a Big Show. Oh.
Yeah, we gotta be main eventing, dude. Come here, friend. Yeah. I love that. John Blood, exactly.
Followed by the Royal Rumble. Let's hope the
Can you imagine Undertaker with a spinner belt?
Oh no. But no, Undertaker and Big Show going for the WWE title. That's the semi-main event.
Oh.
There's no preparing for these Royal Rumble matches. You just have to grit your teeth, clench your fists, and fight your way till the end.
You have your strategy.
Who's shadow boxing?
I have mine.
Who's
running this ship anyway?
Who's
God,
running this shit?
I think Finley was still wrestling at this time.
Who's running this shit anyways?
Royal Rumble again, huh, gents? Very exciting.
Like he's using the roster as well.
Of drawing numbers for my brand superstars already.
Oh.
Ooh, ouch. Tough luck on that draw, buddy. Now I'm curious, where will I enter the Royal Rumble? I hope not too early.
We're getting at number 30, aren't we?
You're good, number 30.
I bet we can all guess what number you have. Don't keep us in suspense here. Show us.
Wait, it's interactive?
Yeah.
Hey, no.
Number 30. Wow.
Wow.
Doesn't matter what number I have.
I don't remember Edge being number 30 when the Sexay Yeti won, dude.
Count on
it.
I don't quite remember that.
Yeah. Look at it. It's funny since in the future Edge will win a Royal Rumble at 30.
He will, yes. Like very close to this, I think. He'll win at 30. Did he win the 2010 Rumble?
Yeah, he won the 2010 Royal Rumble.
Okay, this is like really close to that, in fact.
Wow, yeah, THQ, you're predicting the future.
yeah, genuinely. That's crazy. Anyways, let's go and see the Sexay Yeti in the ring.
I don't think Kennedy has it in him to last the whole Rumble, but if he does, I'll take great pleasure in picking him off.
Alright, so just eliminate Kennedy.
I can do that. Although I think I have it set to hard. Eliminate Kennedy if he's still in the match. It's like, if he's not still in the match, do I just, like,
Get automatically.
Do I just get the extra automatically? Like, they say it like it's not a certain thing. Wait, no. Hold on. Do we need to, like, wait until we come out at number 30? Like, how far into it is this?
I think you're the next one up again. I hope so, at least.
Shelton's just getting ganged up on here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I do kind of miss, like, having these old WWE games. Super actually have unique entrances for, like, the Royal Rumble as they come out.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, Sean, what's up?
I love the way you just see us just slowly walk to the back.
He doesn't need to, like, he doesn't need to do anything else.
Yeah. The one thing that I always hate about okay, it doesn't apply so much to this game, but
I'm not gonna be able to do it, bro. It's not gonna happen. Also, I didn't like it didn't click with me until now, but that was like future roster mates in AEW over there. No, don't eliminate him. He's mine. No.
Edge. Stay in the fucking match.
Okay, good.
Okay. Sure, it kind of focus on it.
I'm gonna eliminate. No.
Okay, auto targeting.
No. Damn auto targeting. No. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. No. No.
Dude, I hate this. I hate those ones. Hey!
Hey! What the fuck do you think you're doing?
It's gotta be Kane!
Come on, Glenn!
Who's fucking up my shit? It's gotta be Kane!
Kane! Oh boy, here we go again. No!
Oh hey, I got it!
Yeah! No!
Dude, are you kidding me? Fine. You know what, Kennedy? I'll help you. Fuck you, Kane.
Now these ones I prefer.
No!
Oh my... Come on, dude.
Hey, this is a crazy Final Four. This here is an insane Final Four.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure that we have 3 people in here, so that way we can do the thing afterwards.
The thing?
The thing, you'll find out.
Okay. Oh no!
It's so precise.
So precise.
It's so precise, brother.
I prefer the ones when they're just on the ropes hanging like that.
Come on, Miz. You're not good enough to be WWE champion yet. You gotta wait a couple more years. Get out.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I have it come down to Edge and Kennedy.
Yes. No. Come on. Yeah, we did the thing. The final 3. It is Edge, Kane, and Mr. Kennedy.
Kennedy. Oh no, they're coming after you. Oh no, look, they're coming after you.
No! Okay.
Oh no.
No. Okay. Wasn't King 30 in the Sexay Rumble? He was, in fact, number 30 in the Sexay Rumble. Yeah, baby. Come on, Glenn.
They did it. This is so goofy.
Right, we gotta do the thing now. What?
Yo!
Holy shit! He turned around so fast there.
Yeah, the turnaround.
There's a good shot.
They're cheering for Kane.
Well, you know, I mean, like, if you were Edge at this point, you wouldn't be cheering for him either. What was that like goose sound effect? Did you hear that?
I heard that.
Honk. Let the geese in here, dude. The real deal sex appeal. Sex. Literally the sex sign again.
Edge has earned his ticket.
Warning, I am awesome, you are not. Wasn't Kane 30 in the Sexayete Rumble? Yes. So which one actually eliminated Kane? Was it Edge or the Sexayete?
Good
night, everybody.
I some multiple timelines over here.
I know. I feel like I'm gonna get claimed for that song, so I'm gonna make sure that let's see. Kennedy and T-shirt. You unlock the alternate outfit for Mr. Kennedy. Kennedy.
Kennedy, I love that.
I love it too. That was a shitty ass Rumble, wasn't it, Taz? There's no Sexayete in sight.
That was the worst Royal Rumble yet. I give it 5 years.
That was the shittiest Royal Rumble of all time.
Columbia.
Hey!
From the Royal Rumble. And what a show it was, JR.
Brother, I mean, this was the final 3, so if anything.
That is accurate.
Put on an inspirational performance. The rivalry between these two.
Man, GHQ is playing Kennedy over more than WWE is at this point in time.
Is in the ring.
Oh.
Are we going to a promo segment? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah!
In full gear.
I'm sure most of you witnessed my performance in the Royal Rumble. It probably didn't surprise you that I almost outlasted everyone, despite starting at number 1. What didn't surprise anyone was the big advantage Maria gave to her boy toy, Edge.
Whoa!
Sounds like a skill issue, brother.
When Maria told SmackDown superstars and fans that there'd be a clean slate with her as GM, we believed her. Turns out she's a dirty liar. She should have her mouth.
Why does it sound like Kenny was like right up in my ear? Did you like hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
He like recorded that like in his like closet with all the boxes.
Rated R superstar is the rash of WWE, but Maria, I thought you were smarter than that.
I do.
Apparently, and this doesn't happen too often. I was wrong.
This is like the most whispery Kennedy promo ever.
You need to step up, Kennedy, if you plan to make it to WrestleMania. Don't blame me or Edge for your shortcomings. Is it my fault?
She really said skill issue.
Am I to blame because you couldn't win the Rumble and solidify a spot at WrestleMania?
If I remember correctly, it was you who handed me the number 1 spot. So yeah, you are.
To be blunt, you've got to perform, period. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you've been paid to do. So tonight, you'll do just that. You've been trash-talking Edge and me all night. Well, now you get him in a tag match. Put up or shut up.
That's awful, Maria. Don't do that.
Why does she keep thinking that she's punishing me by making me get in the ring?
So what, is Kenny just standing out there? Is he waiting for me?
Yeah, I think he's waiting for you. I'm waiting. Here he's like, I'm waiting.
God damn it.
Think you can do me a favor?
What? Wait, what did you say?
Hey there, playa.
Oh my god.
Holla, holla.
Holla. Holla, holla.
Would I lie? All I need is for you to pick which partners you and Mr. Kennedy will have in tonight's tag team match. That's it. Simple, right? Thanks for your help. Ciao.
I have... Oh, I know exactly what partners I'm gonna give motherfucking Mr. Kennedy.
Jesse?
You know it's the Mac Militant. You're gonna get it all. Ooh, ooh. Who's a teammate for tonight?
Oh wow, you have like anyone.
I got like almost anyone on the SmackDown roster. So like, it's like, who are we gonna have on our end, guys? Do we have the Great Khali again? That's pretty epic. We could have the Undertaker. We're going 2v2 with the Undertaker, player.
Holla, holla.
I feel like that's kind of what we need to do, right?
Yeah, have me the Undertaker.
Either that, or we could do R-Truth.
That would be funny. That'd be a choice.
Mike Knox. I almost thought Jeff. I don't know. You know what? I know who I'm gonna pick. For my partner.
Who?
The Undertaker.
The Undertaker. Holla holla. Now what about Ed? Choose his partner. Is it Jesse again?
Matt freaking Hardy.
Yeah, it's Matt freaking Hardy. Oh my god.
We're almost gonna. Thank you for mentioning Jeff Idea Maker. You gave me an incredible idea. It's gonna be Matt freaking Hardy.
Oh, sure, your tag team partner be Jeff Hardy then.
Well, I mean, like, Undertaker's the best guy on the roster, so. Get fucked, Matt. Get fucked, Matt. I'm making sure I pin you.
From Cameron, North Carolina.
Fuck you, Matt Hardy.
With your key tights. I could slap a tornado, chat.
Oh, right, Logan. MJF versus Briscoe.
Yeah, that was good. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It was very absurd right off the bat, and that's exactly what it needed to be. So.
What's MJF gonna do after this, though?
I don't know. I feel like Mark's natural next step is to enter the Don Callis family feud with Hangman.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going for him next.
But like,
Orange Cassidy's.
Hangman also said, hey Mark, I want you to face me for the title, but you gotta earn it. I feel like that he's earned it here, you know?
I feel like Mark's gotta go through the Don Callis family first. He's going for him.
So, like, I don't know if Mr. Kennedy's a face or a heel, like, IRL at this time. But he's being presented like a face here. And to me, that's weird, right? Because he's just really good at getting heat, you know?
Jabong!
It's like, of course, why wouldn't he choose the fucking Undertaker? You know?
He's the king of tag team matches on SmackDown.
The king of tag matches, playa. This is the most Teddy Long coded match of all time.
Maria learned from the best.
199 pounds. The Undertaker.
Undertaker.
Yeah, Logan, I'm just like, damn. What's next for MJF, though? Because this feud is like, Briscoe's over now.
I don't know.
With Marcus. I was like, I guess we'll find out.
How much Dynamite, brother?
Yeah, what will Insecure MJF do now?
Well, he still has the contract, so...
But, they made a dumb to that. Nah, you gotta let us know ahead of time now. 7 days in advance.
Yeah, I know. He needs to, like... They can't use it like Money in the Bank anymore.
But you know what? I'm perfectly okay with that. I thought it was a bit too much.
Yes.
I thought it was a bit too much like the Money in the Bank briefcase thing.
Yeah, same. So I'm glad they're kind of, you know, differentiating it a little bit through this.
Alright, the next one after that was the 6-man tag. The Hurt Syndicate and the Demand. Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and, you know, Toa.
The Demand.
Yeah, the Demand, that's what they're called.
What are they demanding?
Winning matches on pay-per-view, ayo.
They're demanding more pay-per-view time for Mattel, Leona, and Bishop Khan.
First pay-per-view match for them, despite being AEW for a good few years now.
Yeah, I know. This is like their first like main card match.
Yeah, well, nothing should come as a shock anymore.
Match almost went 14 minutes, and Ricochet is just like, fuck your Overdrive MVP.
yeah, he was like, he fucking looked at that Overdrive and he's like, that don't work for me, brother. And he was just like, no, I'm not doing that now. You know what, Kennedy? I want Matt Hardy. I want Matt freaking Hardy.
Give me Matt freaking Hardy. rekindle their old feud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
But I know, Logan. That was a good 6-man tag team match.
It was.
Oh my god. That was oh my god, amazing. But it was good. It was
a good match to have after the fucking, you know.
I guess that's like
Maxwell and Mark match.
I guess as like a cool down match, so to speak.
I guess, but that didn't feel like cool downish to me. But like,
yeah.
Then we had Mercedes and Riho, right?
Yeah. Which honestly, one of my favorite matches of the night. Actually,
it was great. I loved it a lot.
Yeah,
dude.
It makes me go. God, I missed Riho. Seeing Riho in the ring.
I know, right? Good night, friends. Good night, Patch. Hopefully you have a good night.
Wow, the Undertaker just got popped.
As I look at you, go, man, I miss Riho in the ring because she's so good.
I do too. I'm glad that she's back in it. I hope it's for a longer period of time, because like every time that she kind of shows up, it's only for like a month or so, and then she's gone again. So
yeah. The match apparently only went 16 minutes, but I'm just like, wow, that's not
like
feel like
it felt like it went for like 20, honestly.
Yeah.
They made their minutes count, I guess.
But as a man, I missed Riho. Logan, I was also in that match where you made the discovery. She's actually shorter than Seth Green.
She is shorter than Seth Green, yes.
Yeah. Logan, she's our height. She's like our height. Crazy.
Are we gonna do it? No.
Counter by Matt Hardy.
By Matt freaking Hardy.
Yeah, forget. Oh no! I get a tag team move.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, fine.
Oh, it's this one. It's not everyone gets.
Yeah, like Riho and Mercedes really showed up there. That was way better than the TBS title match that they had at Forbidden Door. So take that for however you want, but I think that counts for a lot. So
I loved it. That was like, it's probably like, I think about, but probably my second favorite match on the card.
What was the first one?
My favorite match was probably I just have to think about it.
Okay.
But my favorite was probably actually is there that one or the main event?
And the main event was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which one was probably my favorite? I mean, like, I did really enjoy, the coffin match. That one was fun. Yeah. What was next though? What was next on the card?
Next was Okada and Takesha and oh boy, how do you say the luchador's name?
Mascara Dorada.
Yeah.
That one was probably like a sleeper hit for me, because like I really enjoyed the story they were telling in the ring.
Yep.
So
21-minute match.
It felt like 21 minutes though. So
yeah, it did. It was very good.
Dude, I have no momentum.
Yeah, look at you can see the seed still being planted of that Tenosuke face turn. We're seeing it.
Yeah, it is most definitely coming. I don't know when, but it's coming.
I'm coming. It is in fact coming. Yes. The next one after that was the coffin match, which is very good. I actually really liked that.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Actually, you know what? Look, I changed my mind. I think the Riho Mercedes match was probably my favorite match of the night.
Okay. I'm surprised that Darby didn't get the win there. I thought.
Yeah, I thought he would have.
I thought that was kind of a good thing.
Especially after the bag thing.
Yeah. Like they completely just. I don't know. Like after the bag, I thought that was a sure thing. Dude, what the fuck?
I will say, Logan.
That freaking Hardy's kicking my ass.
I will say, Logan. I'm not sure I'm a fan of the feud actually continuing, though. I thought this should have been like the actual blow off. But I think this should have been like the blow off match.
I feel like they're kind of like maybe building to something else. I don't know what though.
And Inferno match, baby.
Fuck it, why not? I mean, we already like introduced fire. So. Dude, Undertaker's getting friggin' mollywopped here. What is happening?
Edge, I need you.
Where to, Edge?
Where to, Edge? I love that Undertaker did that to Teddy Long. Where to, Teddy? I love that reference.
Matt freaking Hardy, you're all mine. Shit.
And he's shaking.
Look, I will say this. Pac looks freaking weird with short hair.
He does. He like looks like thinner too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Fucking. I don't know what he looks like, but he looks like strange to me, right?
Like Pac, Logan, I think about Pac actually wasn't hurt for that long.
I'm trying to get my elbow drops off. Sorry.
Pac actually wasn't hurt that long. Now that I think about it.
How long ago was he hurt? Oh wait, I got some of Matt freaking Hardy's blood all over me.
It's like 2005.
And I didn't know that like your opponent's blood could like splatter onto you.
Yeah. Very gnarly.
And that with long tights is like strange to me. That's not something that should exist in my eyes.
It looks like the time.
Like he always wears like baggy pants in my head, right?
Yeah.
He always wears like baggy pants, and if he's not wearing baggy pants, then he's not there. I guess baggy pants he would normally wear were out of season. Out of season? What, was it too hot? It was way too hot in the arenas.
That don't work for me, pal.
Yeah, he literally looked at his tights and he's like, that doesn't work for me, brother. Oh, okay. Like, you know, I mean, like that was like part of his identity, you know? What does the key on his tights mean, though?
What does it mean?
You know what? I don't like Maria anymore, man. I don't want her putting me in tag matches.
This could be huge.
I no longer want her to put me in tag matches. Can we, like, make that a thing?
Please?
Just singles shit. Just singles shit from now on. I only want to be in singles competition. That's all I'm interested in.
Whoa, that one landed.
Dude! Did you hear that? Edge! Okay, man, jeez.
And if you can wear down your opponent's torso, you've taken away their core strength.
Okay, look, the heck was out longer than I thought.
What to say, I remember him being out for like quite a bit.
Yeah, he's out for 5 months, actually.
Okay.
About since like April.
See, now that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking kick your ass.
Hey, Kills, that you?
Dude, I can't reverse any of this shit.
Yeah, it's like you put the game on hard or something.
I did in fact put the game on hard, yes. Just because I wanted like a challenge in singles matches, not more tag matches, Maria.
Logan, you know, actually kind of depressing though. His realization is like, wow, people do not give a shit about Dan Garcia's heel turn.
No, they don't. And that's kind of sad, because you know,
yeah.
I enjoy Danny enough, but it's just like
And there's the Irish whip.
he's very like vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, it's a.
Thank you for pushing me towards the fucking guy, Mark. Very cool of you. Matt freaking Hardy got hit with the freaking spear.
Yep, take her, take her, take her, take her, take her.
He just kicked the air, and he's celebrating just like he did something. Okay, great.
Okay.
Great. All right, we actually did it. Good job.
Wow,
that was about to be really embarrassing.
But no, Logan, it's like they couldn't think of what to do with Daniel Garcia next, so they were just like, fuck it, turn him heel or something.
They were building it up a little bit.
Yeah, they were.
But it wasn't like, you know, a ginormous thing.
Yeah.
Then he turned heel, and now he's just kind of, you know, part of the ranks of the Death Riders now.
He doesn't do the dance thing anymore.
No, he doesn't. They took away the thing that got him over.
Yeah.
It's almost time for a 90-second Cheetos break, my dudes.
And we enjoy dancing, you know?
Yeah. Oh my god, stonks!
Stonks! Stonks!
They're always stonks, the stonks mean.
Ever since Maria became general manager, our ratings have been higher than ever.
Wow!
It's been very good at,
So far, partner.
this is very good in the horny men market. People horny for both Maria and for Edge.
Oh my god.
Hey, babe. I was thinking.
Hey, babe.
Were you thinking that we get out of here a little early, head back to my place, you cook me some dinner, and we watch my best of DVD?
Oh my god.
Not exactly. Actually, I was thinking you should probably have a match tonight.
Okay, if you say so. You're the boss. It's just tough concentrating in the ring these days with my thoughts constantly being invaded by images of my little love muffin.
To make it a little better, you get to pick your own opponent.
Anyone on the roster? Ah, got it. Edge versus Michelle McCool.
Bro.
Changing holds and...
What? Seriously? You want to take out Michelle? Huh.
I was only kidding, kitten. Look, I'll go get ready, and by then I'll figure out who I want to square off with. Okay? Okay.
Okay.
That's how Colin talks with his fiance.
Yeah. No,
It's
his
break
wife.
time. Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
Raul's not this. Oh yes, his wife. Apologies. I should know better. I live with them.
Yeah.
What the heck is this?
In Tasmania by Sunsoft, basically all
I haven't seen this one in a while.
is grab kiwis and avoid vehicles on the road. To make quick work of this game, first access the option.
It's literally just.
Select on the title
He literally is just like.
AY, XY,
here's what the game is. Here's a cheat code.
The screen will shake and you will be able to select any level of the game. This feature will be much appreciated by players who will find that Tasmania is boring at times. Bottom line, Tasmania is easy to beat with stage select.
That's it? That's all he says.
That's it. That's the review, guys.
That's like all the comment that he has on Tasmania. And that's just this.
I mean,
for the rest of the video.
Okay. Sure. What's this?
This is the entire ending.
Entire ending.
This right here. It's just a fucking still image, and then that's it.
Oh my god, that's very funny.
Mr. Copeland had it all. He wants it all. Alright. So we get to choose our
Om nom
opponent
nom.
again?
Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Hey, welcome back to Raw. So we get to choose our opponent again, then, is what I'm...
Yeah.
Is what I understand.
I'm not thrilled about having a match tonight. This whole Maria plan was to make less work for me. I should end this match as quickly as possible so I can get back to business. 3 minutes sounds good.
A 3-minute match? Well, in that case, we gotta find the worst guy on the roster, don't we?
Who has the lowest overall?
The lowest overall is...
I saw A77.
Shad Gaspard.
Really? Shad? Huh.
But he also probably has, like, good strikes.
Yeah, I think JTG is like the second lowest, I believe.
Yeah, JTG's the shortest one. Where is Jesse and Festus?
Yeah,
Moreover, where's
come on.
Vladimir Kozlov? We faced him earlier in the playthrough.
Now, look, I mentioned you only get the one.
I can only fight Jesse one time.
One time. Donkey Kong.
Who will you face tonight? Umanga.
Maybe.
Rey Mysterio? No.
Maybe JTG?
Maybe Great Khali?
Great Khali?
Maybe John Morrison?
Maybe John Morrison? Maybe Finley?
Maybe Dolph Ziggler? Crimetimer booked lackluster late in their run, yes. Wait, why is his a nuke? Why the fuck is this thing a nuke?
Oh, it's a nuke.
Why is John Morrison's a nuke? Why is Rey Mysterio? Dude, why do they have nukes?
What's with the nukes?
I don't know. Chris Jericho? I feel like that we need to... You gotta squash JTG.
Yeah.
Optional goal. Win this match in under 3 minutes.
JTG being a jobber? Yeah, that sounds...
There you go.
Brooklyn!
With the street sounds.
Yeah.
Brooklyn!
From Brooklyn, New York, weighing 230 pounds, JTG.
Wasn't there like a fucking running thing for a while where it's like, how much longer is JTG gonna be employed?
Yeah, that was the right thing for a while after like Shad was let go.
I respect Shad Gaspard too much. JTG has to eat that fin.
Yeah. Yeah, there's sort of a joke of people are just like, wait, JTG is so employed?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Now that's only insofar as he still gets matches on Superstars, you know?
Uh-huh.
Which doesn't really need much in the big scheme of things. I don't know.
Hey, at least he's still wrestling. At least he was still wrestling.
He is, and he's like built like a brick shithouse. Have you seen him? I mean, yes, you have. We saw him together. So,
yeah, we did.
He's built like a brick shithouse, and he signed your player's guide for SVR 2008.
Yeah.
That was sick as fuck, though.
Yeah. It was, I completely forgot we met him. It was like, oh yeah, we did.
He also trained Kid Bandits. That's pretty cool. All right, we got 3 minutes. I think we got to speed run this shit, chat.
Let's not fuck around.
We haven't done this in a bit.
Here we go. Another match in which Edge has handpicked.
No, I don't want this. Restart match.
Fuck Joe over again.
I swear to God, if hard mode fucks me up here, dude.
So look, you wanna know how long he was a competitor until after Shad was let go?
How long?
2010 through 2014.
That's insane. Because there were like multiple SVR games after that, or rather, like there were multiple games after that. I don't think he was in any of them.
Let me just say on his Wikipedia page. He has appeared as a playable character in the following Saturn 08, 09, 2010, and 2011.
Okay, so yeah, after that, he was just gone from the games.
Yeah. He has appeared in a few TV shows.
Okay. Those shows being?
Let's see here. In 2011,
what?
Silent. Oh, what did I miss?
I accidentally hit the red.
Oh, thanks, Ref. Let's see here. In 2011, Silent Library as himself, season 4,
Silent
episode.
Library. Holy shit!
Wait, you heard that?
I have heard of that. That was like a game
Wow.
show taking place in a library.
Oh, okay.
I remember that show.
Yeah, season 4, episode 3. 2014, We, the Economy. Yeah, We, the Economy, as
The
himself.
economy for the Wii.
GPD Smackdown, short film. 2015,
Yeah.
Bad Night, as
Edge has won it.
he called himself Knuckles. He's
Knock
called
knock.
Knuckles.
It's Knuckles.
Knuckles, yeah.
I enjoy the idea of like JTG showing up in a Knuckles costume.
He was also in 2015 in a short film called Wrestling Isn't Wrestling as a theater audience member.
What?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
What kind of show is it?
It was a short film called Wrestling Isn't Wrestling.
I'm struggling to even think what that would even be about. What we get? We got Edge's alternate outfit. On this day, you can see clearly that you've unlocked Edge's alternate attire.
Okay, so Wrestling Isn't Wrestling is a 2015 short film written and directed by Max Landis, released for free on YouTube. The film retells the story of WWE professional wrestler Triple H. Like last 2012 short, The Death and Return of Superman, it consists of a monologue by Landis on the subject matter, accompanied by sequences of actors performing the paths in the story.
Hold on.
Can't wait.
Is this the one movie that has a scene with Josh Peck in it?
Probably.
Because once you look at the cast and find Josh Peck in there at all, because there's a relatively well-known clip of him going like, "We fucking hate Triple H." It's my favorite thing of all time. It's my favorite clip of all time.
Hey, what's his name?
Hold on.
I wanted to congratulate you for growing a pair and coming to grips with the fact that you can't run from me forever. I've been looking forward to this for a long, long time. So tonight, when I might check you clear through the ring, you'll wish that you kept running.
Okay, Kennedy.
Canada.
So what's the name of this guy, Logan?
Josh Peck.
Josh Peck.
Drake and Josh.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow, Seth Green is in it. I don't see him as part of the cast list, seeing 9 cameos.
I could have sworn. Okay.
It's a 24-minute short.
Oh. What was that? What did Josh Peck appear in where he hates Triple H? I don't know where. I have no clue where, and I've been wanting to know for years, but I have no clue.
Oh, look, I feel like we need to watch this sometime.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember, as I said, it's a 2015 short film that was released for free on YouTube.
Wow.
Okay.
And as someone playing Triple H.
Yeah, someone playing Triple H.
How is that not the one with Josh Peck in it, then? He literally says he fucking hates Triple H.
Anna Lore as Daniel Bryan.
I can DM it to you, Steph. Please, I need to know this.
I believe in rewarding my SmackDown fans.
Oh boy.
Which is why tonight's main event, right here in Boise, features Mr. Kennedy.
Oh,
Kennedy.
wait.
Against
Wait, hold
the
on.
rated R superstar, Edge.
Edge.
Adam Copeland.
Wait.
Hold on, I know where this is going.
It's because Fear Maria, isn't he?
Hold on, he gives a look to the camera. And he's just standing there. The Edge. Ow, the Edge.
Took a nasty spill right there.
Did I do that?
What? That's it. 1, 2, 3. What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh, I can't link it because we're not friends on Discord. I'll change that. Hold on. What the fuck, dude?
That's so funny.
That was so scuffed.
I guess as far as Kennedy's concerned, it's not over.
That was the scuffiest shit of all time.
Oh, okay, we're doing this again.
Oh, what?
Can we get the medics down? Maria's hurt. And all Kennedy and Edge want to do is tear into each other.
Yeah.
So wait, like, I heard the bell. Is this still a match? No, it's not. We're just beating the shit out of each other. I was about to say, like, I heard the bell.
A kick. It's not pretty, but it's.
Oh no, Logan, you know what JTG was also in?
What?
A Sharknado movie.
Sharknado? Hell yeah, brother.
The last Sharknado. It's about time from 2018.
The final Sharknado? Hell yeah. Wait, can I fight over Maria's prone body? Okay. Come on, brother. Hey! I feel like that would hurt you quite. Hey! Okay. Into the spear. Kinda. About to say, Kennedy, can you, like, do something, man?
He's doing something.
Yeah, I was about to say, the friggin' backbreaker there. Yeah, the Josh Peck shot has Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. It does! It does! It fucking does. Hold on. Is what you sent me the film that has Josh Peck in it?
Look out!
So disqualify that, Kennedy.
Kennedy's got him trapped. Oh man.
Yes. Okay. Well, why didn't it say so when like Zach looked it up?
Oh look.
Yeah. The SmackDown logo. What a place to cut.
Oh my god.
That was like some WCW cut there, dude. Like right when they were like doing the chair shot. Nitro's over. We'll see you on Thunder.
What happened?
Try not to talk. Save your strength. It was that Mr. Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy?
He attacked you. Just like that. Wham!
What?
It was disgusting.
How long do I have to stay here? I need to get back to work.
Sweetie, you're in no shape to do that. Think of your health. If only there was someone who could sort of fill in for you until you recover, which will hopefully be very, very soon.
Well...
Oh my goodness.
You could fill in for me.
I just happen to have these power of
You can sign your life savings to me. You can sign away your legal rights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't you see I'm over here infringing on his human rights? I'm thinking about fucking Robotnik.
Yeah.
Check on you later. Love ya. Bye.
But honestly, look at this has been a pretty entertaining road to WrestleMania.
Maria's got to put those grippers away, brother.
That's back in Detroit, Michigan, baby. Let's go.
On the floor.
No Way Out, live from Detroit.
So what's going on here? What?
What? Is he about to do the rock bottom on the Big Show?
No, like check.
They had to cause trouble. Mr. Kennedy cashed in his money in the bank to become the new WWE champion.
Wow.
One more surprised than us was Big Show, who succumbed to a mic check to lose his title.
Wow.
I love how stilted JR's delivery is.
Yeah.
In these what? What?
Yeah, you're the GM office now. That's funny.
Dude, that's awesome.
Edge, what do you want?
Hey, champ. I got some good news for you, and I got some bad news.
Bad news.
Assuming that just having to talk to you is the bad news, so what's the good news?
Big Show has decided to invoke his rematch clause tonight, so you get to square off with a 7-foot-tall giant.
He's beatable. I proved that
Hey,
while you
baby.
were away playing doctor.
And
Playing
I'll be the guest referee for the match tonight.
Says who?
Well, that's the other news. I'm the interim general manager.
I'm still waiting for the good news?
It's all good news. For me.
For
It's
me,
all
yeah.
bad news. For you. See you out there, champ.
Cool.
Dude, I love you're in the GM office.
I know. This is fucking rad as hell. I love that. It's a real Locosa creator of unsavory things, so most of his stuff is gone now. Oh. Okay. That would make sense. I fucking love how we're in the GM room.
Honestly, look at this has been so far. This has been a very entertaining road to WrestleMania.
It has. We've been able to book our own shit.
Yeah. Oh, this is only by GM mode, right?
I want Kennedy to stay champ.
Yeah,
But I also want to punish him. The best thing to do would be to let Big Show beat on him for a while, then take out both of them and drag Kennedy on top of Big Show.
Okay, we're gonna like Stone Cold this shit or something.
Dude, it's so quick. It's so fast.
Drag Kenny on top of Big Show, make the 3 count. Okay.
All right, we gotta like. I promise to call it straight down the middle, chat.
Wow.
It's the one strat Big Show, which just always looks strange to me.
Yeah. It looks like the old Botchamania joke. That wow.
Superstar. WWE Championship.
Wait, what?
And
Oh.
introducing the challenger. Standing at 7 feet tall, weighing 441 pounds.
Justin, you're not gonna talk anymore.
This is Justin's telepathy announcing. He has like a mind link with the audience, like they're fucking mind flayer tadpoles. I am the absolute. Yeah, you're the absolute.
Yeah, Kenny with the dirty title.
This feels right.
Yeah.
This feels oddly right.
He finally cashed in before WrestleMania.
I know. Edge didn't fucking take his opportunity.
Yeah. I see Edge in the ref shirt. Oh no, just as regular. Oh no, wait, there it is.
No. There's a ref shirt, but he's got like blue jeans on.
Yeah, it's really strange.
I'm gonna call this shit down the middle, brother.
Giving his opponent a chance to breathe. That's resourceful.
All right, I gotta put on the music. I think here, given how we're just the ref, you gotta put on not fight music, but just normal background music.
Yeah.
Come on. Hey, hold on. I gotta make this work. Give me just a second.
Oh my god!
Wii U music.
Yeah, boy! Kennedy.
So what, did the creator do like weird things and that's why they had to re-upload it? That's unfortunate.
Wait, what?
Apparently the creator of that short film we were talking about earlier. Did some weird things. Keep 500 feet back? Or what? Is this a threat?
That's a threat. Oh, right. Look, we were talking about AEW. Yeah. Chad, if you don't know, after the match, backstage, a few matches later, Darby Allin got free, and he set Jon Moxley on fire.
He did, in fact, do that shit, and it was really cool. So,
set up that Inferno match, baby.
And he threw a hard right hand there.
Inferno. Yeah, we need to have another Inferno match. Every time that Darby fucks John in the ass, the goddamn flames get higher like the Sexayete.
Oh my god. Look, after that, we had as I like to call it, a shocking match with Tony Storm, Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander. Yeah, Tekla. Chris Statlander won.
Yeah, I was not expecting Chris to win, honestly. But like,
yeah, so
I mean, I thought that was that was kind of a very fun, title change. So
it's only under 12 minutes as well. Oh shit. But honestly, Toni Storm's, I said to you before, Toni Storm is one of those characters where she's great, and, even without the belts. So, And she had a pretty lengthy title reign, so,
She did have a lengthy title reign, yeah. She was champ since February. So, I would say that it's about time for her to drop it. And Chris Statlander's been there ever since day one. So, I'm happy for her.
She finally won the title.
It took her a long time, but she did. So.
But the good thing about Chris winning is that there's already a story there. So she's been doing shit like the Death Riders and these other people and what have you. So the shit's already there.
You can literally just start. The run with Will Nightingale here soon. So, because they seem to be building to something like that.
Yeah, the ladies made most of those 12 minutes. It's like, damn, that's actually kind of short. Thanks, consider.
We knew it was only a matter of time.
I got a feeling that won't be the last cheap shot.
Oh my god!
I'm just gonna do it here.
I think. Well, he obviously won. Top 3.
1, 2, 3.
I don't know. I feel like I called that one straight down the middle.
When I heard about this matchup and that Edge was reffing, I wouldn't have thought Kennedy would even come out as champion.
I assume Edge plans to take the WWE Championship away, and will get more satisfaction in doing it from Mr. Kennedy than anyone else.
You gotta hand it to Edge. The man is definitely devious.
And that's it from No Way Out. We're glad you tuned in.
Best main event ever.
On SmackDown.
That was the main, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, that was more of an angle than anything else. So.
Not Elimination Chamber match or anything. Oh my god.
Locker room brawl. Some battles aren't fit for the ring. You can now air your grievances to fellow superstars in the locker room. I fucking hate you, Jesse.
Hey, look, we get to have we can have brawl outs.
We can have brawl. Oh, wait, with who? Because we can have CM Punk,
And tonight's episode of
and we can make Kenny Omega, I guess, right?
Yeah.
We can remake Brawl Out. That's good.
Dude, the All Out thing from this year, the 0 hour like collision thing. It was like it's called Brawl something. I'm just like, I swear you guys were like one word away from calling it Brawl Out.
I know, right?
Oh my god.
New Legacy Inc. already got Brawl Out, though. Oh my god, he's still in his rev gear.
Carrying the weight of an entire brand takes its toll.
So, oh yeah.
As powerful as I am. You know, my cheeks are also feeling a little tender. I think they need some attention, too.
Oh my god. I love how he didn't take off his ref shirt for this entire time.
I love how much of a dickhead he is.
I know, right? I can't believe this is interactive, dude.
It's already getting late. Oh, did I tell the two of you that you have a match tonight against each other? Don't worry. The winner gets some one-on-one time with the boss. Me. I have a match, but it shouldn't be too strenuous. Now run along, ladies.
It's almost time for a 90-second Cheetos break, my dudes.
Wait, did you see, like, Eve's foot there?
I saw that. The game cutting that off.
She just lost grip of reality for a second.
Perfect time for an ad break.
She was, like, so fucking stunned by these developments that she just broke reality for a moment. She just broke reality for a moment.
Man, really? Maybe it really is fun.
Where the heck's the
bad
Cheetos,
guy.
my dudes?
It is! It's great. Alright, which one is this? Did I make this one? It looks shit enough for me to have
This one's
done
a
it.
devil to explain.
No, it's
so we'll
fucking
let the
Devil
game
Dice
itself do
again.
the talking.
You see this one,
Okay.
Zach?
I haven't.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up so you can see it.
Devil Dice is an action puzzle dice game.
Okay.
Use the directional buttons to move the characters around.
Okay.
Make the dice move by using the directional buttons while the characters are standing on top of
Wait, is this the whole video?
By moving the dice horizontally or vertically, align dice with the same numbers. The dice vanish when the same number as the number on the dice or more have been connected.
Alright, I'll be sure to write this down.
If the dice show 3,
This will be on the
vanish
exam,
when the
yes.
player connects 3 or
Okay.
more of them. The number on the face of the die multiplied
Whoa.
by the number of dice is added to the player's score.
Man.
This is the other review. Wait a minute, is this the review where it's just the scores at the end?
Until 5 fives are aligned. The 5 dice vanish, and 5 times 5, or a total of 25 points, is added to the player's score.
Love the
Whoa!
Once the dice have been aligned, they vanish into the ground, like so. Dice
Okay,
which
I
have
see.
only partially disappeared can still be used to connect with other dice. The player can continue.
Om nom nom. Oh, excuse me, we're back, my
The
dudes.
value of those dice are also added to the total score.
There's like almost no commentary. They just slapped the score on at the end.
Hold on.
The bottom line, Devil Dice is fun, but not worth $40.
Thanks, George. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, George. I appreciate that.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's the whole fucking thing, dude. That's all of it.
He can't just do that.
He's George Wood. He can do what he wants. Went to ads as soon as I made my last comment. LOL. He's bringing intergender matches now. Equal fights. Yeah. One-on-one time. You're gonna get double. So what? The winner gets like double booked. Okay.
Oh, you can wear. Wait, you can wear the ref costume if you really want to.
Yeah, I can wear that the whole time.
Assistance with me is fine, but I really should be the one to pin Kennedy.
Hold on.
Oh, you want to go up against Kennedy? Okay. Oh, all right. Well, who's your teammate for tonight?
I think I'm gonna have.
Manga.
Manga. Choose
Yeah,
teammate
Manga.
for tonight.
And who? Omega and who?
You know what? I want to make sure that these guys get some screen time too. Kane.
Yeah, oh my god, it's gotta be Kane. And a handicap
Mr.
match.
Kennedy. Edge and Umaga and Kane versus Mr. Kennedy. Hell yeah, dude. Wait, is this just... okay, I thought we were all entering together.
Oh, look, I just realized something. This is like Umaga's last video game appearance as well.
This is his last for like 10 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he would appear until like until like 2K games from like, 22 onwards.
Yeah, you know how I know this is his last game appearance?
What?
Because this is from 09. He was released in 09, and he died that same year.
Really?
Yeah. He was on the Hulkamania tour thing in Australia. Oh. Yeah.
So wait, like when was he released?
In 09. And he went on the Hulkamania tour in 09. And he died like a few... Yeah, he died a few days after the Hulkamania tour.
Like when in 09 was he released?
I can tell you. On. Oh, look at this real quick. Oh my god, it's Kane!
Oh, it's gotta be Kane! Here he comes. Fresh off of getting fucked in the ass by the sexy Yeti.
23 pounds. Kane!
My asshole is Raw. But I'm not on Raw, I'm on SmackDown.
But that's a hunger.
It hungers for more. For more of that sexy Yeti dick.
Okay, wow, Logan. So, you know how these games came out like October, November, time?
Yeah.
These games. The manga was released in June 8th of 09. So this came out after he was released.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't need to be in this game then.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're giving Umaga a bit of shine on the way out.
And Umaga wrestled his final match on November 28th, 2009, where he was defeated by Anderson. Yes, Ken Kennedy.
Dude, that's insane. Dude,
Yeah.
He's walking down the ring right now, and he's about to face his final opponent.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
That makes for two people that Kennedy has had their final matches with, because his last match, Eddie's last match was against Ken Kennedy.
Yeah, Ken Kennedy. Yeah.
Umaga's last match was Ken Kennedy.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
Yeah. Where he lost to Anderson. Ken Kennedy. Okay.
Like, was he just called Anderson? Was he not called Mr. Anderson?
Yeah. He's called Mr. Anderson.
Okay.
Okay. Look, I didn't know about this. Shortly before his death, Umaga reportedly reached an agreement to return to the WWE at the Royal Rumble. Oh shit.
Damn, already.
Look, shortly before Umaga's death, he reportedly reached an agreement to return to the WWE at the Royal Rumble in January of 2010.
Oh no, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, if you're curious. So he wrestled, his final match in late November, and he died on December 4th of 09.
It really did look like Kane was doing the Vince walk there, yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Oh man, yeah, look, that's really unfortunate. Umaga only 36. That's
probably
like
have quite a
super
bit
young.
left in him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 50
Like shit.
now. That's crazy to think about.
Look, I remember watching Umaga and being very entertained by his ring work. He's very
Umaga
good in
was
the ring.
unfortunately a little bit before I started wrestling.
Yeah.
Watching wrestling.
How'd you?
Wait, what? Huh? What? Dude, what was that?
I don't know. What was that?
Kane over here, dude. Edge has so much power that he doesn't even need to like do like double team moves. He can just mime them and they'll still work.
But Logan, if you can.
What?
Oh my God! What the f was that?
Dude, what's happening in this matchup? What is happening in this match?
What is this fuckery going on?
I've injected SmackDown with a lethal dose of witchcraft.
A lethal dose of poison.
Oh, lethal dose. Witchcraft. Dude, what the fuck?
How can anyone expect Mr. Kennedy?
Okay, look, I was gonna say, I say, if you can, go out of your way to like watch Umaga's match with like John Cena at the 07 Royal Rumble, their last man standing match.
I do know that one is like, you know, often considered one of Cena's best matches and probably Umaga's best match too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people give Cena a lot of shit, but you gotta give him credit. When it came to working with a big wrestler, he was honestly much better at it than Hogan was. So
yeah, I mean, Cena Logan, Cena did the impossible. He got a good match out of the Great Khali.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a last man standing match as well. Like when I say in 07. Oh, that's another last man standing match.
And like, I can like guarantee you that was all because of Cena. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I was trying to remember. It's like, wait, how did It's like, oh, shit, only 36 as well. Heart attack.
Boy, that'll freeze your frozen tundra.
So I'm like, damn.
I'm sorry, what did you just say about my frozen tundra, JR?
What did you say, JR? Can you repeat that?
Oh my God, Kennedy's actually doing his finisher on me.
Wow, the plunge.
I mean, right here, this Kane.
Umaga?
Guys, thank you.
Help me.
I was just saying, I mean, like, if nothing else, we're making Kennedy look really fucking good here. So.
Yeah. But look, I love how you unintentionally put Kenny in a match with Umaga, his final opponent.
I didn't even know that was his final opponent. That's insane.
Yeah.
I literally thought we were about to squash the champion here, but no, Kenny has shown why he has the belt. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kennedy is showing why he's got the belt.
This shit writes itself.
Okay. Guys, I need to tag one of you in, man. I gotta tag you in, Umaga.
Umaga.
He might have to finish this one on his own, folks.
What the fuck? I didn't want to taunt.
A clubbing. Oh, did you see that knee?
I did not want to taunt. What the fuck is that? That is not a strong strike, Umaga. Okay, you know what? I regret putting you on the team. You actually kind of suck, dude. Stop! Stop taunting!
What, he just does that instinctually?
No, because, like, okay, so, like, the DualShock 3 I'm using is a little scuffed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it'll read a taunt input when that's absolutely not what I wanted it to do.
Oh.
So.
Get him out of here! Oh, or not.
I just have to say, Umaga, you can fucking go to the back, man. You're a little drunk.
Look, there's one thing that lives rent-free in my head. It's the way William Regal just calls Umaga.
Umaga?
Yeah, Umaga.
Umaga, you must step into the ring with your left foot. Yes.
It doesn't take long for the pendulum to swing one way or the other. And it's come full once again.
But so no, Logan, Umaga was already released by this time, so it's just like, wait, why is he still in the game? I don't know.
Why wouldn't he be? Is the better
Yeah,
question.
why wouldn't he be? I mean, I'm glad he's here.
And an Irish whip.
What the fuck? Kennedy!
Kennedy's putting in the work.
Yeah, he's putting in the fucking work here. Showing why he's the champion, not Edge. Dude, I just remembered, like, I'm pretty sure in the WrestleMania match, you don't even need to win the match, really. So in that match, I'll actually need to, like, fight my ass off in order to, like, you know, get the actual ending.
I mean, Logan, if you want to, you can always, like, save on that final matching and see, like, the 2 endings if you really wanted to.
Well, I could also just, you know, look on YouTube for that. So.
I mean, Logan, there's, like, lose that match, get DQ'd or some shit.
Well, that's kind of where you're wrong, Zach, because there's no DQ in that match. So.
No countouts.
No DQ, no count out.
This could be 3 right here.
Yeah, let's go. Edge.
And Edge finishes the match on his back.
Think he's impressing. His shortcuts get more and more blatant every week.
Maybe, but I don't have to remind you that Edge is not the WWE champion.
No, but I think being the boss is proving more enjoyable to him than holding the title. Good night, folks.
That was the main event? I mean, to be fair, what the... Huh?
What was that? What the fuck kind of sign was that?
That's a crazy sign. Wow.
I mean, to be fair, Edge would put himself in the main event.
He would, yes. Ah! Chicago and Chi-Town. On the floor!
We're certainly expecting some turbulence here in Chicago.
What's that font? What's with that font?
That's some Premiere font.
Yeah.
I saw Maria backstage before the show, and she was looking.
That's like font,
fine.
That's
font, outline, gradient, shadow.
Could handle another week under Edge's rule. Speaking of the interim general manager.
Oh wait, hold on.
I have certainly enjoyed my tenure as SmackDown general manager, as I'm sure you all have. But a part of me has been empty.
Empty.
Because the true GM and my true love, Maria, was out hurt. However, after a brave battle, she has recovered from her injuries, which were caused by Mr. Kennedy, if you remember.
Uh-huh.
I remember, Edge.
May I introduce the returning general manager, Maria.
Maria. Here she comes again.
Maria,
it's fun, man.
SmackDown just wasn't the same without you. I wasn't the same without you.
I was.
It's true, Edge. You were a lot worse.
Haven't you done damage, Kennedy? After what you did to me, I should...
Maria, you're right. I'm very sorry about what happened to you a few weeks ago. I really am. I would have showed it more, too, if Edge hadn't attacked me after you went down.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
Not
Show the
saying in the
footage.
mic.
Edge has been a busy interim GM, Maria. He's been using your office as his personal motel room. But you don't have to take my word for it.
Yeah, well, actually showing the tape.
That footage was doctored. Edge didn't wear... I mean, Edge was wearing a ref shirt during that.
Yeah, I was wearing a ref shirt.
I'm pretty sure that was AI chat.
Listen, it's all lies.
It's a lie.
I don't want to hear it. What
I was in the ref shirt.
Devastated me.
I'll leave you two alone.
Only you. Bye.
Responsible for my fall, and you were triple timing me. You're in big trouble.
Ooh.
You're gonna face Undertaker.
Oh,
well, what was the Undertaker player?
You're gonna face him and his brother Kane in a handicap match.
Nah.
I love that.
He falls to his knees.
Yeah.
And by the way, babe, you have 10 minutes to get your junk out of my office before I have it hauled away and torched.
Wow.
No.
Oh, he's throwing Kristen tantrum, dude.
Well, Logan, he's getting the Theodore Long treatment. It's like facing the Undertaker and a tag team match.
Yeah, I know. But no, it's not even a tag match. It's a handicap match.
Yeah, there you go.
I switched it back to easy because I know I'm gonna not have fun with this if I don't. So.
Yeah, you're gonna be sweating over here.
I'll become a sweat. Kenny just became the Triple H of the story, in which he reveals people cheating on each other. All we need is Katie Vick, and then we're complete.
Yeah. I just like no.
So
thank God no bonus goals.
It's like when is Edge gonna go into a funeral home? And, like, open up the casket.
No, wearing the Kane mask.
He just like wants to live out his like fantasies as Kane. Well, actually, no, Mr. Kennedy does that, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean like if Kennedy is Triple H in this story, then Kennedy would be doing it.
Yeah.
And Kennedy just goes into the fucking the funeral home. I just love Kane, guys.
Is it you know, Logan? Since we are a heel, where the heel's getting us just desserts.
I was about to say, like we're really like, you know, on the back foot now. So
yeah,
it's funny because throughout this we've been like on top, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got Logan. It is actually kind of. It's actually crazy to think about. In these like WWE storylines, we very, very rarely play as the heel.
Yeah, I know. So did the brothers come out together?
No, I see the smoke.
You know, if Maria ever heard of OpenAI, she would know for a fact.
Oh, wait a minute!
Oh, hold on. She knows for a fact that shit was doctored.
Yeah. Yeah! They have their own special entrance. Kind of cool, actually. Oh wait, Undertaker's gonna take like 5 minutes to come out here, isn't he?
Yeah, I know, they're gonna take like 5 minutes each. 10-minute entrances.
Or is it the entrance is longer than the match itself?
I hate you, Edge. You had me get back together with my brother.
At the
very least, I'm not here with my dad.
He's not falling down flight stairs.
I'm still digging him out of the cement.
I heard you were at a funeral home lately. What's up with that?
And you were wearing my shit. I want it back now. I heard your shit was torched. That was my doing. Sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry. And my brother watched as I did it.
It gets him off. That's cool.
Actually, this is kind of cool. They have their own little special entrance.
All right, we need fight music, I think. Oh no, it's tornado tag!
Oh no, this is gonna be hell.
Dude,
wait, look.
Do we have to win? Hold on. What? What's up, Zach?
As I said, well, there is one music track I was think of. It's the haha funny type of music that's from a certain H game that I know you have in your playlist.
All right. What's the game? Or rather, like, what's the music? Wait.
Yeah, that
was. This is from your fucked up. Wait, hold on. It's pretty loud. It's loud.
Yeah, okay, turn down.
It's really loud. Hold on.
Oh, turn that shit down. Okay.
Okay, perfect. This is from like a monster fucker game, I believe. Pizza fucker.
Yeah, that's called a pizza fucker game.
Pizza fucker game. Man, do we already have a signature?
Yeah, okay. I guess this is a makeup for a tornado attack. And it's just
no!
Kane!
No!
Kane, no!
I want my shit back.
Yeah, I really feel like going up against because Chad, if you don't know, this is a theme called the Heavenly Knights battle theme. So damn, I feel like I'm going up against the Heavenly Knights right now.
The Heavenly Knights.
The Heavenly Knights.
I like that.
You might not like this guy, but there's no denying Edge is one heck of a competitor.
You know what? I will say that like JR's commentary from this is some pretty underwhelming. I kind of excited to have like vitriol for vitriol for fucking Edge. You know, after everything that he's done in this playthrough.
Hey, Logan, it's like his AEW commentary or something.
Very, very sleepy JR.
They keep going around the ring, and around the ring we go. What the hell is that, Taker? It can't get going, and yeah, it can't. Just please stay out there.
Kane can't make up his mind, brother.
Brother. So on one hand, he wants to win, but the other hand, he likes it when his brother gets beaten up. So chat, if you don't know, this is gonna be real fun to explain, chat. This is from an H game, and if you don't know what H game stands for, look that up to yourselves, because I'm not.
It's basically a game that we're not playing on this channel, so
no.
We would not play on this channel.
We would get banned instant second, like frame 1.
Okay, I was about to say, is Kane just not gonna like help? That would be funny. Come on, Undertaker, we have so many memories together.
Do we though?
Do we though?
Alright, Kane, yeah, just stay down there.
What?
Oh, I did the sit-up! No.
What? He no-sold it.
Because he did the sit-up.
Yeah, because he like did the little sit-up. He can't do it. He can't do that shit.
Who the fuck do you think you are? Yeah, imagine this is on hard though.
This would be hard, as advertised.
Yeah. You know what's also hard?
What's hard, Zach? Why don't you tell me? Why don't you tell the class?
As I be like, oh, that's a commercial.
Cheetos break time, baby. You know what? I don't like you, Kane. You go out.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah. But no, chat, to explain myself even further, this is a remix of a song from that game. It's like a little guitar remix.
Love that for you, Zach.
I
love that.
But hey, Logan's the one that decided to put this in the playlist because for some reason this goes fucking hard for no reason.
Well, I thought it was funny to include it, so.
Yeah. Not Kane gets the spear. And Taker gets the spear.
It's like a mini spear, though.
Yeah. Yeah, baby.
Hell yeah.
It's got it.
That's incredible that like Edge just beat the Brothers of Destruction like that.
Is the crown jewel on SmackDown. What a victory!
I don't know how he did it, but he beat two behemoths, undermanned and underpowered.
I wonder if this is going to prolong Maria's backlash, though.
We'll have to wait till
backlash, you say?
Good night, everybody.
I wonder if you can lose that match.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'll try to lose the next one.
Like DQ or something.
I'll just or I just won't kick out on the first pin attempt.
Yeah. We're in Kansas City.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to serve up another edition of WWE Smackdown.
Oh my god.
Good old JR's barbecue sauce.
My colleague, Taz.
And that's the
Taz two Z's.
Anyway, Edge has gone from king of the world to, well, scum of the earth.
Wait, what'd he say?
Unfairly?
Power.
Edge deserves the potholes on his road to WrestleMania. Show some respect, JR. Come on, I'm begging you. He used to be a champ.
Come on, I'm begging you.
That was in the script.
I'm surprised you're so forgiving, Taz.
There's the anger JR I was waiting for. Jeez, about time.
Hold on, I'm gonna back out.
Oh, you want to hear that again?
Without saving? Yes. Because I want to see if... I want to see if you can lose that match that we just did.
If we can't, you're gonna have to do it again.
I'm aware. I'm aware of that. Alright, we're in, and then we're out.
Yeah, we're in, and we're out. So yeah, that's enough prep time.
So I'm just gonna let these guys beat the shit out of me, right?
What would be beat the shit out of you type music? Whoa! I heard that. That's Mega Man X7.
I feel like this works.
Yeah, because it's like intimidation type shit.
Whoa, hello.
Wait, I thought you wanted to lose, Logan.
I did. I want to get some shit in, you know?
Oh, make this so a competitive match. Yeah, it's funny, Logan. This is the Sigma boss fight music from Mega Man X7.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because I completely forgot where this came from. I'm not gonna lie. I just had it right here. Dude, they're beating themselves up more than they're beating me up.
Yeah, this is from Mega Man X7, Sigma. First face is Sigma.
Sigma Chad Alpha.
Yeah.
This user was written by a Sigma Chad Alpha.
There's no chunks now. Alright, pin. You should have done beforehand, Logan, set them on hard.
I probably should have. Whatever.
Alright, pin.
God damn it, Kane.
Alright, there's the ground and pound.
I fucking hate you, Edge. Give me my shit back.
Give my mask back. I've been looking for that.
And now I find out that it's at Party City, you bitch. Ah! Kane is going to town on you. I wish you would go to town on me more, brother.
Phrasing.
Hey, phrasing.
Hey, phrasing. Bleh. Yeah, why always just grab a chair and get yourself DQ?
And SmackDown continues after this. I want there to be a little bit of struggle, you know?
Yeah. The hopeless struggle.
Exactly. Alright, there. I'm not gonna get into anything else.
Okay. Alright, there's a neck breaker.
This right here is all Kane and Undertaker from here on out.
Alright, yeah, okay, yes. This is good, this is good.
Dude, how long can he hold a submission in for?
Ash, tap for it, thank you. No? Okay.
That was insanity, dude. But the
nice
triangle.
submission.
It's almost time for a 90-second Cheetos break,
Is it
my
really?
dudes.
Oh, really now?
Alright, well, SmackDown continues after this.
No. Where's Church Wood when you need him?
It's break time. Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
Raw rolls on after this. Well, SmackDown continues after this.
Oh, hopefully they'll pin you by the time this is over.
Now it's time to play FOF Speed Round. Here's how
Oh
it
boy.
works. We have 3 genres
How's it work,
left:
George?
This is very quiet.
sports, and puzzle. We go through each list of games, comment briefly on each title, and you have to guess which title is our favorite from that list.
Whoa,
All
we got to
reviews
guess.
are
Take a
available
guess,
on
Zach.
our website. Ready, set,
Famously hates
go.
racing games.
Racing, R4 Ridge Racer. New and easier cornering controls, plus nice graphics.
Okay.
Star Wars, Episode 1 Racer. Doesn't quite feel like 600 miles per hour as advertised.
Well, that's because you're going at 450
Micro
miles
Machine
an hour,
64
brother.
Turbo. Steering is weird. Graphics too simple.
Why is he driving a juice
Penny
carton?
Racers. Mario Kart for kids. User-friendly create a track mode. Extreme G2. Awesome graphics, lighting effects, and course designs. Roll Cage. Awesome lighting effects, but often very frustrating. Formula 1 98. This game might as well be Newman Haas Racing, The Return. And lastly, Chocobo Racing. Mario Kart for kids, but much better than Penny Racers. And the top game is, surprise, surprise, Extreme G2.
Okay. George, you gave me no time after you went through all that.
Excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
And welcome back to SmackDown.
It's like, George, you gave me no time after that. And you went through all of them.
I'll go out to SmackDown as the Brothers of Destruction are continuing to go to town on the Rated R Superstar.
Whoa, the choke slam.
Whoa. From hell.
Okay, yes,
From
drag
heck.
his lifeless body over. There we go. Alright, this should be it. Alright.
Alright, let's see if it actually, like, goes through. Yeah, it goes through!
Wow!
Wow.
Wow. There's no commentary.
It's a shame to see a former
Oh, no, there it is.
GM take such a beating.
I disagree, Taz. Frankly, I had a great time.
I fucking hate Edge. I can't even see him out there.
Just doing what he thought was best.
What he thought was best for Edge, you mean?
Hmm.
That's all from us. Good night, everyone.
Bleh. Oh, you can see their special outro as well.
Yeah. That was a SmackDown if I've ever seen one. Okay, I feel like until it's absolutely necessary, we just keep taking L's.
Yeah, because our job is to heal, to get our comeuppance.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to serve up another edition of
We're gonna serve it up with some good old JR's barbecue sauce.
Alongside my colleague, Taz. And that's the Taz to you, Mr. Ross. Anyway.
The what Taz? The what Taz to you, Mr. Ross?
Unfairly, I think.
That's the Taz.
What about the abuse of power? The infidelities? Edge deserves the potholes on his road to WrestleMania. Show some respect, JR. Come on, I'm begging you. He used to be a
I love that. Dude, why is he going off script? That's so cool.
Matt Logan and Sepa Taz, he goes through the game.
I was about to say, it's Sip and Taz commentary even comes into the game. It's Taz!
It's Taz!
Oh, it is alive and well in 2009.
Quit calling me. It's like my phone rings every 5 minutes. Can't you get it through your thick skull that I don't want to talk to you ever again?
Well, that's kind of hard since you're my boss, you know? You kind of need to talk to me.
I'm really sorry to interrupt your crying session there, Sport, but I have some important news. Since Maria is utterly disgusted by you, she said I could pick your match for you tonight.
Oh no.
I can give you more details about it, but I really don't want to ruin the surprise. All I can say is, have fun.
I heard that.
I ducked out. I ducked out too fast. He wasn't done cooking yet.
Wait, Logan, can we listen to that again? Can we hear?
Yeah, we can, but we'll need to like listen to the whole thing again. But I'm fine with that. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's hear that again.
I'm really sorry to interrupt your crying session there, Sport, but I have some important news. Since Maria is utterly disgusted by you, she said I could pick your match for you tonight. Now, I can give you more details about it, but I really don't want to ruin the surprise. All I can say is, have fun.
Oh, Ken. Oh, Ken. You were way too good for this world.
I know.
Dude, that shit reminds me of like the goddamn so like at Walmart, we have these people that are trying to sell us 5G phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's one guy that I enjoy hearing over the intercom because he at least mixes it up every time, you know? Like he threw in a woohoo at one point, right? like he was so excited about 5G phones. He's like, woohoo! I mean, like, fuck yeah, guy, woohoo indeed. But there's like this one person that just legitimately reads from the sheet verbatim every single time, and I want to walk back there and just be like, fine, I'll buy a fucking 5G phone for $10 or less out the door if you'll stop saying that. You know? I've stopped by. Now tell me how I can get mine today, because you insist on telling me it every 20 minutes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You insist on telling me this without even throwing so much as a woohoo into your spiel, you know?
Please, give me a Mario woohoo, I beg you.
Give me a moderate woohoo.
Can't let these two get to me. I'm not sure what hurdles I'm gonna have to jump over tonight, but I can do it. So tonight, I should put someone through an announce table to show I'm still atop the food chain.
Okay. When? Yeah, we can do that. But triple. Way to spoil. Oh, it's a Boss Cat Anywhere match.
I'm here with my shovel.
I heard you needed to bury the competition.
Maria told me to bury Edge.
Dude, look, I'm not sure if I told you this before, but I love Brian Zane's like Triple H voice impression.
All Triple H impressions are good. Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember that one time when I did like the Triple H voice in the GM mode, where I lingered on for a bit?
I'm here to send you to TNA, Adam Edge, or should you be called Adam Copeland?
Yeah, I did it for like a good few seconds. I absolutely lost it.
I know. It's time for, you know what? I wonder what's on TNA. Oh, that's right. It's gonna be Edge after this match.
You're gonna go against the NXT people. At TNA.
Who would be the Shadow the Hedgehog to Maria's Maria? Triple H.
Oh my god, yeah, Triple H. The Edge.
Through an announce table. Why not?
Get to the Shane McMahon spot.
Remember, it was to determine our new general manager. The SmackDown landscape was totally changed after that one. But hey,
I
get to see a lot more Maria.
Okay.
Edge
sure.
is the table. Edge is the table.
Oh no, this is going too far.
Come on. Oh. Hello.
Oh, not the hammer. Wait, did you remember to switch back to hard?
No.
Oops.
But we're gonna try to let Triple H beat me anyways, because I want to see if he still can.
Is that once you get the bonus goal, but you still lose?
Yeah, I was about to say, what happens if I get the bonus goal but still lose the match? Will it still go through?
Oh, I can't wait.
What? Come on, Hunter, we gotta do the spot, okay?
He's got him.
He's got him. What? Okay. A flat back bump on the announce. Yes. Hunter, come on, man. He's like, I'm leaving for TNA.
I'm out of here.
I'm gonna go and work Kurt Angle.
Hello, Mario.
I heard that Booker T's having a great time over there. Also, hey there, Dark Raven.
I heard something about his AJ Styles.
About this AJ Styles, he seems pretty sick.
Yeah.
Come on, through the table. What the? Ow! Damn. Wait, what happened? Oh wait. Okay. Cool. Also, hey, Dark Raven, how are you doing? Woo!
That's a Shane McMahon spot. Yeah, Shane McMahon spot.
Yeah, we did the Shane McMahon spot, brother. You know it. All right, let's get up and let's see if
he's going in for the kill.
The Educator.
I heard him. Put him in a body bag.
Put him in a body bag. Put him in my ass. Anyways, Triple H, you gotta get your shit in, brother. Okay.
Falls count anywhere, but still ends in the ring.
That would be funny as fuck.
And there he goes.
Here.
He's left the ring
Here,
again,
Triple H. Come on, man.
playing mind games with his opponent.
Come on.
Come on, Hunter.
I'm gonna send you over to Dixie Carter.
The game's got him.
What, dude, we're doing fucking limb work and a goddamn false count anywhere. Doing fucking limb work.
I like to mix things up a bit.
Like we broke 2 tables, and the best thing you can do right now is goddamn limb work.
I'm about to put you in a chin lock.
There's a good shot.
I gotta get my shit in. All right, Triple H, come on. No, we're gonna end this shit in the ring.
The old-fashioned way. I'm gonna send you a TNA. Have you wrestled 2010 Hulk Hogan?
Have you seen how Mick Foley's doing over there? I hear he's world champion.
That'll knock you silly.
I hear they got rid of the 6 sides. That's pretty stupid of them, if you ask me.
I heard something about this card group. Something about aces. What's that about?
Aces and the number 8.
Pinning predicament. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
No way, please. 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 No!
They have to win.
Let Triple H, Kenny, Maria get one over me. That's not going to happen. No.
That doesn't work for me,
fine.
brother. I got to do the table spot again.
Yeah,
but that's fine.
The table spot again. I mean, I don't need to, but like, I probably should.
I mean, anything for more damage.
Yeah, more damage, and I'll pin him after the spot.
Oh God! The sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Ah!
Just whenever I see Triple H, my brain goes to New Legacy immediately. I mean, I did too.
Oh my God.
One more match, it's what Christian would have wanted.
We knew these superstars weren't going to be
Man.
easy on each other, but this is too much.
My God, it's too much. This is too much.
Wait, Logan. That just reminded me of the very start of All Out before the first match, where Christian was asking how someone's father was doing.
Yeah, I know.
You can see the pain.
How's everyone's dad doing tonight?
As everyone's dad doing today. All right, we were talking about All Out, weren't we?
We were, in fact, but then we started talking about this bullshit.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, well, all right. Well, thankfully, you only had 2 more matches to talk about. I know one of them you had like
I had some
beef
problems with them.
just conceptually, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's the 4-way ladder match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship with Brodito and the Young Bucks and Speedball Mike Bailey and Jet Speed and then Josh Alexander and how do you say his name?
Hechicero. Yo soy Hechicero, brother.
Don Callis being like Peggy. With Don Callis being like Peggy Hill, being bad with Spanish.
Every single time Hechicero comes out, he literally says in Spanish, he literally says in Spanish, I am Hechicero.
I wonder what's gonna get pulled out.
But no, Logan, that was a very good match. But no, yeah, problem is just, man, enough of all these multi-mans for the tag team titles.
I do feel like it's being used as a bit of a crutch.
Yeah, because for some reason they just don't have faith in the regular tag team match. For some reason, it don't make any sense. At least it comes off that way.
Yeah, it's kind of what it comes off as to me. Like they're just not booking like normal tag feuds, which I don't know. I feel like oh damn! I just busted him and made him less cerebral. Wow. He is now 20% less cerebral after that.
I feel less cerebral.
Touche, brother. Triple H, I hit you with my finish. You need to go down, brother. No. Stay down. What the fuck, dude?
No, that don't work for me, brother.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
And down he goes.
Okay, let's actually see if he does it. Let's see if he stays down. What? What?
No, not. Oh no, we got a rough bump in a Triple H match.
It's gonna end in the ring, too, brother.
That was one
vicious neck breaker.
This shit's gonna end. Dude, did you see Taz there?
Oh yeah, I see him.
He's like driving a motorcycle. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see that. Taz, what are you doing?
What are both of them doing?
They're supposed to be like holding on to the announce desk, but there's nothing there.
No, I know. I know. There's one hand motion that makes it look like he's honking like a big rig horn. It's very funny and very cute at the same time.
Was to determine our new general manager. The SmackDown landscape was totally changed after that one. But hey, at least we get to see a lot more Maria.
My God. Okay. We gotta take this one home. What the? No, Hunter. Take my shit.
Charlie's just like, like hell you weren't dead.
You, that one right there. It doesn't work for me, dude.
He almost took his head off with that lariat.
What exactly is his signature on the outside?
Whoa, whoa.
That's a very good question.
'Cause I have no clue. I couldn't even begin to guess.
He almost took his head off with that lariat.
I'm just gonna taunt until I get my finish.
Whoa,
yeah.
That one landed.
Come on. Maybe I'll get it after this. Maybe I'll get it after this. Come on. Ah, no. Come on, man.
Elbow drop. Delivered with a ton of force.
All right.
Stay down, Hunter.
Edge showing the wherewithal to reverse it.
I did see the finisher icon thing.
What? Huh?
Oh, you got a trophy.
I got a trophy. For what?
Well, put him first so we can look at it.
I'll look at it after the thing here.
What
the?
What? Come on. Yes, this is what high rating gets you.
I know.
Sleeper hold.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm gonna try and make him tap.
Wow, look at this. Really is like a triple. Long and drawn out.
There's no way that was going to be a 3 count.
Sorry, I was adjusting my phone for a second, and I was like, I wasn't paying attention to the fact that I was getting pinned.
But look, it's like, wow, this really is like a long and drawn.
Yeah, I know. It's way too long. For one thing. It's way too fucking long. For another thing. There. That's it. That's the finish. Dude!
One. It doesn't work for me, but wow!
Wow. No, it's a false count anywhere. We need to finish this on the outside of the ring.
Sure, no, we're doing this by my rule.
You're doing this on my time,
And again, he gets pegged with the opposite.
It is my time, like my
time. My time. My time.
That Triple H.
Yo, Jimmy hit me with that Triple H.
Triple H, yeah. That song's still 90s.
It's very much. It's very like late 90s, early 2000s coded.
There we go.
I stepped away for a second, and Hunter stole someone else's spot. He was about to send Adam Copeland to TNA, but we stopped that.
Win for Edge. Anytime you can get a victory over Triple H, well, that's a huge win. WrestleMania is just around the corner, folks. Can Edge get himself a shot at Mr. Kennedy's WWE Championship?
In that match, we're going to set it to hard mode.
Okay.
What the?
Okay.
Jericho pose.
What do we win, though? Oh my god, we won! The chicken head! Wait, why is that unlocked here? And
yeah, why is that not in the car game? Now you've heard of a chicken with its head cut off. Now you've heard of Mr. McMahon with a chicken head on. It's unlocked. It sure is. I guess.
Can you imagine if you did this before the CC mode? You'd be like, what the fuck is this?
I know. Alright, we're approaching the end. Also, welcome back, Soul.
Oklahoma's own good old JR Jim Ross
oh my God.
Taz here, welcoming you.
That's some real stank face there from
a Smackdown. Well, we all know Edge won an opportunity at Kennedy's WWE Championship at WrestleMania. But, well, Edge's issues with General Manager Maria are not helping his case. Apparently not. We've been told Maria has maybe following main event.
Okay.
Edge will take on Big Show in a tables match.
Alright, well, we need to set up so that Big Show steps through the table, right?
Yeah. Oh, God, I remember that.
I feel like that's what we gotta do.
Remember No Way Out? I sure
Yeah.
You kept me from regaining my WWE Championship. Tonight, I'm going to keep you from being able to walk out of the arena.
Nah, don't worry. Tails matches are typically very easy in these games.
They're typically very easy, yes. Alright, cool. We got final week here before Mania with weird ass build, honestly. I'm pretty sure. What?
They always do that in these video games where it's just like, oh, the pay-per-view. I was yeah, the official match for the pay-per-view is like 1 week before on the go home.
I know, but like in this game, it's like felt like the pay-per-views themselves have literally just like it's like man, 1 week nothing, and then bam, pay-per-view week. Wow, you know?
Yeah, like they're an afterthought.
I thought his shirt said sex violence for a second.
That would be appropriate for him.
Sex violence? That's what the ring is getting, dude.
Yeah.
Sex and violence.
Weighing 241 pounds, the rated R superstar.
He looks especially, like, nasty and gross in this game, I feel like.
At least he doesn't do the humpy in the ring.
Before we go, I need to show you what Christian looks like in this game because it is the most not Christian looking man ever.
Christian's in this game?
Christian is in this game. He's the ECW champion, brother.
Wow. Yeah, that checks. This is his first game back in quite a while.
Since 2006.
Well,
when he went to TNA.
Yeah, reinvented himself.
I will never forget the way that John Blood described Show Miz's theme.
Oh, what's that?
Have you ever heard Show Miz's theme?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay. But, like, he fucking described it like this. Like, these are the opening moments, right? It's, well, awesome! Big Show! I came to play!
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, because, like, obviously it doesn't say Big Show in there, but, like, in the Show Miz theme, it's like, Big Show! And, like, it does... It's the fucking funniest thing of all time to me. Just the way he says, Big Show!
Big Show!
It's so funny to me. Oh, man. Because, like, all they did was they just took the Miz's theme as is, right? And then they, like, took Big Show's theme and, like, fucking... It just raised it up a couple octaves. So, like...
Yeah, great for the editing team over there.
Well, awesome! Big Show! The big Show? He's like, yeah, I'm the Big Show!
Well, be careful, Logan.
And it goes running.
Oh. Damn it.
It is one of the craziest mashup themes of all time, I'm afraid.
Yep.
Well, break the walls. Well, Big Show.
Oh my God. Hey, look, you know what was awesome though?
What?
The main event of All Out.
That was.
What? Oh, whoa! What the fuck? What the fuck?
In defense, that referee was trying to fuck on me.
On me. He was trying to fuck on me.
God damn it, my controller.
Why now?
Here they go.
Dude, I fucking hate the DualSense. No, I fucking hate the DualShock 3, dude. This thing feels like it's made of nothing. I didn't want to do that. Look it.
I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna scream.
What?
I'm gonna scream about this.
You know what? Fuck this. I'm just gonna fuck up the ref for a little minute.
It's like trying to put an elephant in a baby stroller. It's not gonna go easy. Trust me.
Why is it so hard to put him through the lean?
It's not gonna go easy, trust you. Have you put an elephant in a baby stroller, Taz?
Well, have you?
Have you ever done such a thing? Yeah, like he doesn't want to go through this table, dude. Okay,
there we go. No!
No!
No! No! No! No! No! No! No! No! No! No! No!
Ow!
Okay, it didn't break. Kill you. Show is gonna kill you.
No. Ow! Damn. My face and my spleen.
I blame the referee.
My scapula.
It's almost time for a 90-second Cheetos break, my dudes.
Oh, is it now?
Unfortunately.
No!
Okay, fine. Fine. I won't do it yet. Thank you. Thank you for that idea, Maker. You made sure to clip that. No. Okay.
Come on,
More
Edge.
strategic here. We gotta make sure he steps through the table, Zach.
How are we gonna do that, though?
Well, give me a minute and I'll figure it out. Not gonna lie, hearing the Smackdown theme has made me want to play Thrillville again. I feel like that'd be fun to do on the channel. We all just... we all get together and make a theme park. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Only thing is that Thrillville is filled with licensed music. So, like, I would need to figure out how to get around that.
I'll put my own music with blackjack and hookers.
Yeah, I know. Alright, we got the reverse DDT. Come on! Spear through the table! Fuck on!
Yeah, let's go! Yeah, unfortunately, he didn't step on it, though.
Sure he did. He stepped through it.
Oh.
When I speared him.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. See, I figured it out, Zach.
Oh, yeah, it's all faith.
This thing sounds like it's coming out of a Walkman. What? Kennedy! Let's have the travel to the kids around.
Edge, your persistence to win me back is heartwarming. It really is.
I don't know. I don't really care about you. I just want the belt.
Like that gift you left for me that was wrapped in the paper with the little hearts on it. So cute.
I mean, I
You should
didn't
have
decide
seen
to do
how
that.
snug it fit. The way it hugged my hips and really pushed up my...
Whoa.
Well, you get what I'm saying. Unfortunately, you'll never get to see it. What you will get, however, is a title match at WrestleMania for winning the Royal Rumble. You've earned that. But trust me when I tell you, it won't be easy.
Why not? Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. X button.
Despite a tough match just moments ago, Edge the ring and is trapped in the cage.
Okay, cool. Well,
we get to be on for a bit before SmackDown goes off the air.
This feels incredibly familiar.
Oh, does it now?
Yeah, because we literally were in this situation, you know, like last month.
Oh, wait, that's it? Okay. Okay.
Don't miss WrestleMania! WrestleMania!
WrestleMania, come on, buy it, please.
Are you gonna watch TNA? Please don't.
Where's that making you?
Why is he smacking the table?
Nah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I wish I was on TNA, JR.
the showcase of the Immortals, and we are emanating live from Houston, Texas.
All the politics, all the insults between Edge and Mr. Kennedy, they don't
Shoot
matter.
to Thrill plays in the background.
He's still animated, Taz.
He is animated. He's really passionate about this. He even folded his arms. Look at him.
Yeah,
Showdown came about.
I used to fold my arms in ECW, JR. Did you see that?
Yeah, see how cool I was just now?
Did you see how cool I was?
Maria used her power to help Edge while handicapping Mr. Kennedy. The next part of Edge's dastardly plan removed Maria from SmackDown and got himself named interim GM.
Edge, if you wanted that, you should just named yourself the GM from the beginning.
I was about to say, again, that footage was like incredibly doctored. As I remember, he wore a ref shirt during this scene.
Yeah. So, shenanigans.
It's almost time for a 90-second Cheetos break, my dudes.
We'll have that break before our match here.
Yep.
Who's calling me?
So, Edge, you're finally getting your WrestleMania title shot. Are you happy now? You can bet I'm gonna keep a very close eye on the match.
Okay.
Alright. I'm gonna switch over to hard real fast.
Ooh, boy.
Alright. Add, and then we're gonna fucking do it. This will be fun. Maybe.
It's break time.
Not quite sure.
Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
Raw rolls on after, or the WrestleMania starts after this.
Alright, George, what do you have for us?
The Big C has also released Buster
Oh my
Brothers
God.
Collection for the PlayStation.
This one is the best.
This blast
honestly.
from the past is, well, not worth busting your butt to get. Get it? Buster Brothers. Bust your butt? Oh, well.
Yes, George.
You know how we love lame humor.
Nah.
This anthology CD includes Buster Brothers, Super Buster Brothers, and Buster Buddies. All three games basically have you bust bubbles, which split into smaller and smaller bubbles, which must also be busted. Sounds crazy? It is. Just like Tetris. Buster Buddies includes famous paintings and works of art, like the Gleaners, shown here. These works serve as backdrops for each level. Being the silly people that we are, we were kind of hoping to see mannequin piss in the background. Man, wouldn't that be cool? Hey, it's a true famous work of art. Why not? Anyway, no amount of hearing can make this game viable.
No amount of
This
hearing
type
can
of
make the game
gameplay
viable,
is just
Zach.
too simple to attract today's kids.
You don't
But
say.
hey, old farts like me might like it. Piss or no piss.
Piss or no piss?
I like how he calls himself an old fart.
I mean, I don't know how old he is here. He's probably, you know, at least like mid-30s. At least.
Yeah.
Great.
George Wood, don't change.
Never ever change. Anyways, you gotta save.
Oh,
nom
right.
nom. Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Welcome back to WrestleMania.
Oh, right, Logan. Right, main event all out. It was a very good main event, despite only the 2-week build it had.
Christian,
Yeah,
who probably should have been the last ECW champ looking back, but WWE not good at retiring titles, especially from promotions that it hates. So
yeah.
Anyways, what's that?
Oh, as I was saying, main event all out was good, despite
was
only
good.
the 2-week, despite only the 2-week build had.
Hangman is really good, surprise, surprise, and so is Kyle Fletcher, surprise, surprise.
Wow, I'm so surprised.
I know, right?
Shock.
That's crazy. Cage match for the WWE Championship.
Alright, Logan, win this thing.
You think you know me?
I'm genuinely going to try to.
Yeah, you might not though, because we're playing hard.
Yeah. We'll see. Alright. Big fight music.
Yeah! Kennedy!
That's
big fight
not
music,
the big
right?
fight music.
Remember, WrestleMania 25th anniversary. 25th anniversary.
It's not, though.
It's not, though.
It's the 24th anniversary, Vince.
That's not how anniversaries work.
You know. We didn't think about that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about installing Maria as GM.
Mm.
Two men entered this steel.
Yeah, bet.
Disturbing the peace, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just doing that this whole time, so.
Ow! That one definitely hit hard.
So reload, baby.
He's on death, boss.
Right.
The peace. Get to my eye. Oh, whoa. Shut up, Logan.
I shouldn't have done any taunts. You're right. They couldn't wait to use the anniversary in the title.
They should just call it 24th anniversary then.
Or just don't use the anniversary at all. Just call it WrestleMania 25.
Yeah. Ugh.
I'm not trying to taunt. Really, my biggest opponent here is going to be the DualShock 3, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Goes to you. DualShock 3. Oh, jeez. Ow.
Edge connected. Edge got all of that one. Enemy felt that.
Come on. Look him over.
No.
What?
Maria? Maria, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do, Maria?
Educated feet.
I didn't want to taunt.
Damn you, DualShock 3.
It's fucking me up here, dude.
It's gonna cost you the match.
It might do. Here's the boss music in Persona 3 Reload, yeah.
I'm sorry?
Here's the boss music in Persona 3 Reload, yeah.
No, this is actually the normal battle theme when you use tech.
You use what?
This is the normal battle theme when you successfully do an ambush attack.
Okay.
Yeah. Persona 3 Reload has two normal battle themes.
Okay.
When you successfully ambush the enemy, and the one where, well, it's not an ambush. It's just a regular fight.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, think about how like Persona 5 Royal had like 2 normal battle themes with you.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, like Last Surprise and Takeover.
I'm trying to like pick him up because I know you can.
Oh.
That's not how you pick him up.
Yeah, it was a signature.
Chain wrestling here in a steel cage, dude.
What is this bullshit?
What the fuck?
Man, Mr. Kennedy actually main eventing WrestleMania. What is this timeline?
Yeah, I know, right? This is insane. Stop! Let me up.
Help!
Help!
Come on, Logan.
I don't even know if like this is pinfall or submission. I don't know if this is like just, you know, escape the cage or what.
There's not been an attempt to escape the cage yet.
There's not really been an attempt to escape the cage. Let's see. Nope. Just escape the cage only.
Alright.
It's fucking WrestleMania, you goddamn troglodyte.
No disqualification.
Get in there and stop this match.
No disqualification, JR. Come on.
It's a steel cage, brother.
Whoa!
I heard that from Taz.
Oh my God.
Make up your mind, Ken.
Okay.
He doesn't know where he is.
Ugh.
Oh, the Hogan leg drop.
Yeah. Another
goodness.
DDT. Got a clinic on our hands.
we need a clinic after this. A lot of arm-based offense here from Kennedy.
Oh, yeah, we're telling a story here.
Yeah, we are. We're telling a story between the ropes here.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
What? What, Taz?
What is it, Taz? Why go whoa, whoa, whoa?
What's so wrong about this?
Ken, why are you trying to do submission moves?
Ah! Ah! Cool.
Here we go with a little taunting.
There have been no finishers in this so far, by the way.
Yeah, no attempt to escape in the cage yet.
And he's Dave.
Is he gonna try to leave?
Oh, he... Okay.
Why didn't he try to leave? That'll tenderize your ass?
I'm sorry? Yeah, what are you talking about?
You what?
You what? Turning the pace. Oh
no!
No
way!
Oh no! 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 I think he's got
No
it.
way.
He's got this.
He's
No!
got this shit.
No!
No, it's over, dude.
It's so over.
No way!
We can't let it end like that.
I think we just did.
Oh! Okay, there's no alternate ending thing.
What? I could have sworn. No, no, I remember. I remember there's an alternate ending. Maybe there isn't.
Are you sure you're not confused this of, I guess Edge's SmackDown was Raw 2009 Road to WrestleMania?
Does he have a 2009 Road to WrestleMania?
I thought he did.
I don't remember. Was this not the part yet? Maybe not. I do remember that there was another part to this match. No, Ken. That's what I was going for, man. I'm gonna go ahead and switch the music, though. Let's do...
Man. Yeah! Sing a Persona.
Damn, lighting each other's chests up.
Okay, no, Edge should not have 2009 Road to WrestleMania. Okay.
I was about to say, I don't remember him having one. What I do remember is that the 2009 game had, like, the full, like, Edge and Taker match on it. In Mania that year.
Yeah, it did.
There you go.
Down goes Mr. Kennedy.
Come on. No, I know for a fact that there's something else here. Come on.
I'm not going crazy.
I'm not. I swear. No.
And he threw a hard right hand there.
Hey, here's a Maria. It didn't do anything.
I could have sworn that she's here to, like, do something, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
nah,
what?
Spear.
Spear! But of course, it's not my spear, so it's less effective.
Yeah.
Dude, look at his chest. It's beat red.
Mm-hmm.
It's been about power and domination, but at the heart of it was the WWE champion. What a way to settle this game here at WrestleMania inside a steel cage.
Nope.
You gotta make sure your opponent's on the Dream Street before you start making a break for it.
All right.
Taking a moment here to dish out a verbal beating.
They sniff his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Putting the knee to his opponent.
Fuck you.
Look at us tempted to be locked in.
I'm trying to be locked in.
Showing some disrespect here.
Oh.
More spears.
I love spears. I love this move.
I love whatever this is, yes. What is this? Hey, that's Big Boot. I love that too.
It's been your favorite move this match. Nope. Oh my god, chain wrestling here.
We cannot do a spear these days. I mean, really, it's a tackle. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah. Another spear. Another one. You love that move.
I do. I admittedly love this move. Wait, what did I hear from the crowd there?
I don't know.
I heard something, but I don't know what it was. Big boot. Big boot again.
And there he goes.
Come on, no! Whoa.
Damn! Tell us a world backbreaker.
In this match?
In this economy? Damn, dude. Okay.
And it goes running.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm leaving.
He's going for a quick escape.
What?
Oh, okay. That's usually trying to do.
What is going on, JR? For real?
Oh, good time it. Good time it.
I guess he couldn't stand it any longer.
Okay.
And now it's a mad scramble to exit the cage.
Bro, what is this? What?
Oh, wait, stop the music! Stop the music!
What? What is this? Huh?
What is this?
Mr. Kennedy is going to make it out.
Take a look at Edge, though.
Oh!
What in the hell did Maria just do?
He's bleeding.
We ended up winning.
She cost him his WWE Championship.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, we won in the end anyways.
Yeah.
His only WWE championship.
Yeah, oh, is it his decision? Or something? Oh. Is it interactive? Oh my god.
Ooh. True love, I guess.
Question mark?
Yeah, go to TNA, Ken.
That one hurt, didn't it? Kennedy!
Cool.
The plan comes together. I got the girl. I got the power. And I got the WWE Championship. Me. The Rated R Superstar. The smartest, most cunning man in WWE history. Isn't that right, babe?
That's right, sweetie. You're the best.
How could this have happened? What? The hero is walking off into the sunset with his best friend? Sounds like a happy ending to me.
Okay,
and
Taz.
And that's it.
You think you know me?
Yeah. Very funny.
Scumbag of the year. Wow.
Yeah.
The Raw.
The Raw. Okay.
The WWE Smackdown versus Raw. Okay, cool. I guess.
Yeah, go, I guess.
Edge story has been completed. Good
Oh, yeah,
job.
look at what was that one trophy you unlocked during the match?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, honestly. I would need to go and check.
Yeah.
But I need to show you how unchristian like Christian looks in this game.
Sure, show me.
It's Christian.
Look at him. Look at that smug.
Dude, that's the most non-Christian looking facial structure of all time. It's so, I don't know, it's just weird to me, right?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Okay.
Intercontinental Champion Rey Mysterio. Wait, who's the US champion? Oh, MVP? Okay.
Yeah. I'm coming.
He is. Shelton Benjamin. What's the ECW like announcer in this game?
I'm very curious, yeah.
I'm curious, yeah. I don't really want to play the match, I just kind of want to show you. I kind of want to just see and show you what Christian's face looks like.
Go!
Following contest is scheduled for
I love this version of Christian's theme.
Like, I don't know, just like Christian doesn't look like Christian in this game at all to me.
23 pounds.
It looked like he shrunk his face.
Bro, that ECW title looks super small. What the fuck?
I know. We got the Walmart Championship here with us.
Yeah.
Here on ECW, which we may as well have just had that because that's how ECW was at this point.
Yeah, it was pretty much just the beta NXT, so to speak.
It was beta NXT by the end, yeah. Shelton Benjamin versus Christian Cage. Christian.
I should see.
Hello, Mario.
Guess who? Hi, Nelson. We're about to sign off here.
Yeah, you're here at the very end.
We're about to sign off here in a minute or so. Rip this version of the theme. Don't throw it under the bus. I like this and the waterproof blonde version.
Ain't no stopping him now.
That was some spittle fireworks.
From Orangeburg, South Carolina, weighing 248 pounds.
Fuck.
The gold standard, Shelton Benjamin.
Fook.
I love AEW.
This should be a phenomenal match.
This is Matt Stryker and Todd Grisham.
Vertical base was shaking.
Yeah. That vertical base was shaking.
Just slap after slap.
Step on up and see if you can throw a giant gold
see,
ring around a long boy's neck, ladies and gentlemen. Step on up. Come on.
Okay,
Let's
that's
go. Hurry.
Nope.
You missed.
Nah,
Or maybe you didn't.
suck, Nelson.
You owe me $10 either way.
I forget, how do you check your trophies on PS3? I don't
So there's network.
Yeah, like I got this PS3 like a few years ago. What you looking for? Trophies. Where do you find them? I don't quite remember.
PlayStation
Trophy collection. There you go.
There.
Mickey
James Edge. Create Superstar Story.
New Superstar Initiative. Intermediate Technician. Succeed at a cumulative total of 50 reversals. Single player only.
That's what you got during the match. Just 50 reversals.
It's got 50 reversals. Okay, fine. I didn't realize it took me 3 playthroughs of Road to WrestleMania to get 50 reversals.
You're just like, wow, do I really suck that much on reversals?
I guess I do. Because, like, I don't know. I feel like the triggers are not really the best buttons to have a reversal on because those are very time sensitive. So
Logan. This is like back when it's like there's such thing as strike reversal and grapple reversal, and are two separate buttons.
Mm-hmm. So Alright, so we'll play this game one more time. I would like to do this career mode here. I know it's nothing special, but like I figured it would, just be kind of fun to maybe just sit down and chat over it for a while. So
I remember it being kind of boring for I
remember it's literally just you go after every title. It's literally like you're the belt collector.
Yeah.
So you know what? I will become the belt collector, Christian Cage, next time.
Hell yeah, baby.
But yeah, that was very fun. That was very silly. I enjoy being the heel in these because it's honestly very, very fun to do so. Yeah, we will
get to play as Dickhead Edge.
We will do this one more time next stream, which I think will be either Tuesday or Wednesday night. But for now, we need to raid out to somebody. We need to do it before the fucking ad begins. So here. Okay, we're gonna raid out to Mr. Cool, who is right now playing Retro, it looks like. I don't know what it is that he's playing, but it'll probably be fun because he's very fun and cool. So we're gonna start that. Thank you all again for hanging out with me and Zach. Thanks for hanging out, Zach. I appreciate that.
No problem, Logan. This was a lot of fun.
Long Boy Club Love. There it is, right there. Copy that message into his chat. We're gonna go in there. I will see y'all on either Tuesday or Wednesday night. See y'all. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. You're on the Long Boy Club for life, everyone. Remember
It's almost time for a 90-second Cheetos break, my dudes.
Get out of here.